नमस्कार विजया दशमीको हार्दिक शुभकामना दाइ
Thank you. Happy Dashain सबैलाई.
Happy Dashain. How has your Dashain been दाइ so far?
केही भएको छैन यार यो दसैँ. This was a very busy week overall.
Oh.
So basically nothing.
न तपाईँ त्यहाँ हुँदाखेरि do you used to like celebrate with friends or?
Yeah, not exactly, but then मेरो Copenhagen मा I have family. It's a short trip यहाँबाट एक घण्टा पनि लाग्दैन फ्लाइटमा चाहिँ. So that would be an ideal plan, but then अहिले there was so much to do. एक दिनलाई पनि गएन. So दसैँ त्यस्तै हो. खसीको मासु लिएर आएर राखेको थिएँ मैले. दसैँमा बनाउनु पर्ला भने it's still there. त्यो पनि भएको छैन. That's where it is.
Wow. Must be a really busy week then.
How does Dashain feel like दाइ त्यहाँ चाहिँ?
त्यस्तो केही छैन यार actually. It's basically अब it depends on who you're with. अब कसैको यहाँ अब there's a community. So नभएको त होइन, but then I basically don't live around a lot of people. नेपालबाट भएको मान्छेहरू they don't live around the area. मेरो त्यति आउने जाने त्यति भाव पनि छैन अहिलेसम्म. So it's I'm very detached from that. तर केही न केही भइरहेको हुन्छ तिहारमा यताउतिमा इभेन्ट्सहरू एक्टिभिटिजहरू चाहिँ केही न केही भइरहेको हुन्छ. म आएको
So like त्यहाँको नेपाली कम्युनिटीहरूले चाहिँ they keep like organizing eventsहरू as such.
So all of that चाहिँ छ. यहाँ एउटा स्कुल पनि छ नेपालीहरूको where they do some activities of sorts. बच्चाहरूको performance and all that थियो तिहारमा a while ago. So they're doing a couple of things. कुराहरू चाहिँ भइरहेको हुन्छ.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
I think अलिकति बेसी धेरै नेपाली कम्युनिटी भएको ठाउँहरूमा जस्ट लाइक अस्ट्रेलियाहरूमा चाहिँ I think they have like massive parties and eventsहरू नै यस्तो बेला.
Exactly. यहाँ पनि डिपेन्ड्स. अब यहाँ पनि म पहिला when I first came here म सिटी सेन्टर नजिकै बसिरहेको हुन्थेँ अनि त्यतातिर चाहिँ अलिकति there's more people around there नि त. अनि त्यसपछि तिजमा देखिरहेको हुन्थ्यो पुरा सारी लगाएको मान्छेहरू यताउति गइरहेको that whole week. So somebody or the other has a party. अनि त्यसपछि you see that vibe क्या. त्यस्तो धेरै देख्दैन. It's not like you see them all over the place. तर अलिअलि चाहिँ देखिरहेको हुन्छ. You can sense that something's going on. Yes.
But are like हुन्छ नि so you've been तपाईँको त्यहाँ you obviously have like Norwegian friendsहरू पनि नि होइन. So like are they interested in like हुन्छ नि you know what is Dashain खाली like what are you guys doing, why are you guys wearing red clothes तिजमा or like हुन्छ नि something like that. Are they interested?
That's a common conversation. जस्तै अब यो week त busy भएको थियो but a couple of weeks ago I had some friends over for dinner. अनि त्यसपछि because Dashain was on set, I'd made a few things and त्यसपछि we talked about what it is and people are curious. अब it's interesting नि त. हामीले पनि सोधिरहेको हुन्छ के हो, what's it about, what exactly do you eat. अनि यहाँ नर्वेको झन् there's like specific things you eat at specific festivals go. फेस्टिभल्स आउने बेला खानेकुराहरू यताउति भनेर हाम्रो जस्तै हो. बट देन हाम्रोमा अलिकति हामीलाई बानी भइसक्यो भएर नोटिस हुँदैन अनि बाहिर आएर झट्ट हेर्दाखेरि ओके यस्तो रहेछ भनेर नोटिस हुन्छ. सो इट्स द अदर वे अराउन्ड.
But I think they're like more curious about like the entire 15 days वाला holiday वाला कुरा हुन्छ नि त्यो थाहा पाएर चाहिँ they're quite amused रहेछ क्या. Because I was having this conversation with a friend who lives abroad.
Not many people have यत्रो लामो festivals.
Yeah, she was like so shocked क्या हुन्छ नि. Wait, you guys have like 15 days off for a festival खाले क्या. क्या shocked क्या. I'm like, oh my god, like I would want to live in Nepal खाले गरेर. And I was like, wait a second, we don't have Sundays off. And we said, oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, but then John, if you like combine हामी स्कुलमा हुँदाखेरि you used to have like दसैँ र तिहार त like it's like one big festival नि त. You have that festival vibe for the entire month.
Yeah. पहिला एक महिना पुरा छुट्टी हुन्थ्यो अनि त्यसपछि at some point it changed, I remember. बिचमा अनि त्यसपछि
at some point we like होइन ब्रो नेपालीहरु अलिकति भए नि काम गर्नु पर्यो.
I don't remember having एक महिना बिदा चाहिँ मेरो स्कुलमा चाहिँ थिएन.
I remember के म कति क्लासमा हुँदा याद छैन but then I went from having एक महिनाको छुट्टी to having classes between दसैँ and तिहार and that was quite disappointing. Why are they doing this all of a sudden? सब राम्रै चलिरहेको थियो छुट्टी भइरहेको थियो.
त्यो बिचको कलेज or स्कुल जानु पर्यो पनि it doesn't feel like school or college because everything is like खोले पनि like नखोलेको जस्तो खाली.
टिचर्सहरु पनि
people aren't serious के
त्यति बेला कोही पनि मुडमा हुँदैन के त्यति बेला काम गर्ने पनि. They're still like हुन्छ नि दसैँको ह्याङओभरमा अनि तिहारको एन्टिसिपेसनमा.
Yeah त्यो चाहिँ हो.
That I think अहिले त normalize भइसक्यो because everybody is used to it, but then अलि अगाडिसम्म पनि the whole old who people are. तर actually
Yeah.
भन्ने भने I don't feel like we've got that many holidays because म यहीँ notice गर्दाखेरि weekend you've got the 2-day weekend instead of the 1-day weekend we have. अनि
Yeah.
त्यसपछि अरू ब्रेक्स त हुँदैन बट द समर इज गुड 2 months अफ फ्रम एनिथिङ
Yeah.
Yeah.
अनि
Mm.
द्याट सिम्स फाइन हुन्छ नि एउटा बिग हलिडेले डोन्ट थिङ्क इट हर्ट्स अरू छुट्टीहरू चाहिँ कम हुन्छ
Yeah.
जस्तै हाम्रो त अब महिनाको 1-2 दिन त केही न केही भइरहेको हुन्छ त्यो चाहिँ हुँदैन
Yeah.
But
तर आई थिङ्क
Well-
त्यो चाहिँ अब लाइक स्कुल हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ हो तर अहिले नाउ द्याट वी स्टार्टेड वर्किङ त्यस्तो त केही फिलै हुँदैन
दाइले भन्ने बित्तिकै लाइक वान थिङ क्लिक टु मी के एज ह्युमन्स एज सिभिलाइजेसन डु यु थिङ्क विभ अलवेज काइन्ड अफ हुन्छ नि हलिडेजहरू त पछिको कुरा भयो होइन बट अल्सो लाइक फेस्टिभल्सहरू हामीले सिजन अर वेदरको अनुसारले हाल्छ नि अर सेलिब्रेट गर्छ नि लाइक फेस्टिभल्सहरू अब जस्ट लाइक या
त्यो टेन्डेन्सी त छ यार त्यो चाहिँ आई अल्सो रिमेम्बर डिस्कसिङ दिस विथ माई
Like-
फ्यामिली एट सम
कस्तो
पोइन्ट
मैले त बुझेन
इन अल कल्चर्स के
Mm.
हुन्छ नि जस्ट एज ह्युमन सिभिलाइजेसन्स हाम्रो जुन चाहिँ सेलिब्रेसन्सहरू हुन्छ नि लाइक अब माघे सङ्क्रान्ति अर वाट एभर अर लाइक जस्ट लाइक इट्स अब हरेक सोसाइटीमा दे हेभ लाइक इट्स अकर्डिङ टु सिजन्स
ए
or लाइक हुन्छ नि सर्टन
सम अफ
वेदर
इट या
मोस्ट अफ इट ब्रो
नो दसैँ त इट्स नट बिकज अफ सिजन
दसैँ त नट बट देन लाइक इट स्टिल हेज द्याट यु नो अब अराउन्ड इट नि त सिजन एउटा यस्तो खाले वेदर बट देन
हाम्रोमा
लाइक
मेक
मोस्ट
सेन्स अबाउट माघे सङ्क्रान्ति एन्ड स्टफ त
हाम्रोमा रिजनल फेस्टिभल्सहरू चाहिँ सानसानो त्यो कम्युनिटिजको फेस्टिभलहरू चाहिँ क्रप सिजनसँग एकदम इन्टरकनेक्टेड छ
या
that's a driver of what prosperity was होइन बेसिकली हाम्रो
No, but
पुरानो
is
पुरानो
it-
ट्याक्सेसन यताउति गभर्मेन्ट्स द्याट्स हाउ
Right.
इट केम इन टु प्लेस नि त सो
Mm.
बेसिकली वाट यु
But
फार्म एन्ड
is
वाट यु
it-
प्रड्युस त्योसँगको कनेक्सन्सहरू चाहिँ छ एकदम द्याट्स भेरी स्ट्रङ
तर त्यो फेस्टिभलले इन्फ्लुएन्स गरे हो कि सिजनले इन्फ्लुएन्स गरे हो
सिजनले इन्फ्लुएन्स गरायो सो लाइक सो यु युज टु सेलिब्रेट द फर्स्ट तिमीले धान निकाल्ने वाट इज इट कल्ड
द
first
फर्स्ट
खाने
हार्भेस्ट
दिनवाला होइन
या द फर्स्ट सो पिपल युजली सेलिब्रेट द फर्स्ट हार्भेस्ट
असार
the first rain, त्यस्तो खाले के
राइट राइट
सो दोजहरू त आर लाइक
मेक सेन्स
अनि इट्स नट जस्ट लाइक नेपालमा मात्र होइन क्या थ्रु आउट लाइक हुन्छ नि मोस्ट इफ यु फाइन्ड यो कमन कुरा चाहिँ क्या अबाउट सेलिब्रेसन्स अबाउट फेस्टिभल्स लाइक मोस्ट प्लेसेस म्यान म लाइक साउथ इन्डियामा हुँदाखेरि दे ह्याड लाइक अल देयर फेस्टिभल्स वाज अराउन्ड लाइक हुन्छ नि
द सिजन्स
अराउन्ड हार्भेस्टिङ एग्रिकल्चर के अब त्यस्तै खाले हुन्छ नि
त्यो एन्टायर सिभिलाइजेसन नै त्यो एग्रिकल्चरले ड्राइभ हुने भयो भएर एनिथिङ द्याट वाज बिग इन देयर एग्रिकल्चरल लाइफ द्याट स्पिल्ड ओभर टु फेस्टिभल्स नि त अनि द्याट्स what there was to celebrate नि त त्यो बेला अब द्याट वाज द बिग अचिभमेन्ट हुन्छ नि इट वाज अल्सो अ बिग थिङ बिकज यु गेट अल द्याट हार्भेस्ट अनि द्याट्स वाट्स गोना फिड यु एन्ड यर फ्यामिली फर वाट एभर टाइम देयर इज
द रेस्ट अफ द
in the
इयर
future, होइन?
Yeah.
and it was a big deal so it does make sense that people liked celebrating that हामीले paycheck celebrate गरे जस्तै त हो नि like you get paid well and then it's
Exactly.
worth celebrating so yeah
राइट
सो लाइक त्यहाँ अब मोस्ट प्लेसेसहरूमा चाहिँ लाइक अभियसली इन युरोप एन्ड लाइक अलिकति नर्दर्न हेमिस्फियरमा भएको अर लाइक अलिक जाडो ठाउँहरूमा दे हेभ लाइक समर भेकेसन्स आर द बिग ब्रेक्स होइन बट
oh it is the
like, कस्तो-
highlight of the year it is the highlight
है?
of the
ओन्ली लाइक
अनि-
वेन द सन कम्स आउट
and it's surprising क्या जस्तै अब म अब I've been here for a few years अनि मलाई चाहिँ समर इज द बेस्ट टाइम टु बी हियर कि समरमा चाहिँ इट्स चिल इट्स सनी इट्स नाइस यु वान्ट टु बी हियर होइन विन्टर नट सो मच विन्टर इज कोल्ड इट्स डिप्रेसिङ इट्स डार्क द होल डे होइन इभन देन समर सच अ बिग डिल द्याट पिपल स्टार्ट गोइङ अन भेकेसन क्या मलाई चाहिँ उल्टो लाग्छ मलाई चाहिँ आई वाज ह्याप्पी स्टेइङ हियर इन द समर I'd rather not be here in the winter, which is why I'm coming home for the winter break. I know. Some even if I was there, like the one time where it's really nice here, I'd not be here, and this which I'd come back when things were very dark and miserable again. And so malai chai the ulta
Oh
lagcha.
yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you about Norway, is it true like they have like ekdamai like it's like 6 months or something, there's like no sunlight at all or something?
6 months is such the होइन it depends on how far north you are होइन अब एकदमै up north मा चाहिँ it's more drastic यहाँ चाहिँ around November तिर you start October November तिरबाट it starts getting slightly darker अनि त्यसपछि you have a time where it's not basically you don't see the sun अनि त्यसपछि it's dark when you leave for work it's dark when you come back I think it's not dark between 10 and 3 or something and
Wow.
So you basically get like 4-5 hours of sun.
अनि
Something
त्यसपछि
like
त्यो
that.
त्योभन्दा बाहेकको टाइम चाहिँ
That's
टेक्निकली
sad.
इट्स नट डार्क बट देन इट्स नट द्याट ब्राइट इदर किनभने घाम त लाग्दैन नै अनि त्यसपछि
Mm.
मार्च एप्रिलमा इट स्टार्ट्स इम्प्रुभिङ अनि सडनली एभ्रिथिङ इज नाइस एन्ड देन यु गेट द समर अनि त्यसपछि यु फिल गुड अबाउट इट अनि त्यसपछि फेरि it's the same thing
like-
all over again.
And like doesn't that like fuck up your sleep cycle,
You get used
body
to
clock?
it. You get
Yeah.
used to it. त्यो समरमा पनि
When you have
the
a
exact
routine to
opposite
stick
नि
to,
त
होइन?
समरमा फेरि it's never dark अब त्यो you get used to it नै हो because राति 11 बजेसम्म घाम लागिरहेको 10 बजेसम्म घाम लागिरहेको हुन्छ अनि बिहान 3 बजे यसो निद्रा खुल्यो भने बाहिर हेर्दा घाम लागिसकेको हुन्छ that's how it is अनि
There's
त्यसपछि
like
winterमा
3 a.m. in the morning. Oh, okay.
Damn.
That's
अझै up
an
north त
interesting
there's-
place to live.
अनि far up north चाहिँ if you're in the summer seasons you basically don't have any dark hours at all अनि हामीले पनि यहाँ इट्स डार्क भन्ने हो तर पिक समयको बेला राति नै पनि त्यस्तो डार्क हुँदैन इट्स स्लाइटली डार्क त्यो यादै हुँदैन म फर्स्ट विक वेन आई वाज हियर मलाई अचम्म लागिरहेको थियो कि बिकज स्टोर्स क्लोज अराउन्ड 11 होइन सम स्टोर्स क्लोज अराउन्ड 8 अनि बाहिर हेरेँ इट्स स्टिल सनी यु फिल लाइक एभ्रिथिङ ओपन बट एभ्रिथिङ स्टार्टेड क्लोजिङ डाउन होइन अनि
नेपाल बन्द हो
त्यसपछि
क्या नेपाल बन्द
अनि
guys.
weirdly अझ दे स्टप सेलिङ अल्कोहल आफ्टर 8 yeah that's the hours होइन so
In the
you
summer,
can buy
always.
always
Okay.
How- with
weekdays
summer
they
being
shut it at 8 on Saturday they shut it at 6 Sundays everything is closed अनि त्यसपछि त्यो यादै नहुने क्या अब उज्यालै छ यताउति छ टाइम छ जस्तो लाग्यो अनि 10 बजिसकेको हुन्छ होइन सो यु इट्स इन्ट्रेस्टिङ इट्स भेरी सरप्राइजिङ किनभने हाम्रो त एकदम त्यो स्विट स्पट छ नि त धेरै चिसो पनि हुँदैन धेरै गर्मी पनि हुँदैन उज्यालो पनि ठ्याक्क
Yeah.
त्यो यु गेट द्याट त्यो होल आफ्टरनुन यु गेट ब्राइट सन अनि राति इट्स डार्क त्यो एकदम नर्मल टक्क मिलेको केही प्रब्लम नभएको मैले हाम्रो
Like,
वेदरको
काठमाडौँ त
बारेमा
अति
भनेँ बिकज
ideal
नेपालको अजम्सन मान्छेहरूको एकदम जाडो होला भन्ने हुन्छ नि त बिकज द माउन्टेन्स एन्ड अल द्याट
Mountains, yeah.
होइन सो दे सरप्राइज क्या अब यस्तो स्विट स्पटमा छ ठ्याक्क काठमाडौँको वेदर त्यो हुँदैन सो वेयर नट युज टु टु
The
मच हिट
cold,
टु
all-
मच कोल्ड
yeah.
नन अफ द्याट होइन
Kathmandu
धुलो
is-
मात्र नहुने भने काठमाडौँ इज सुपर आइडियल इन एभ्री वे I think we're feeling that everywhere actually. यहाँ पनि we've started sensing like it's warmer. अलिकति समरमा अब जस्तै we get a fan in the summer no matter what होइन चाहिन्छ भन्ने भइरहेको हुन्छ. People find it surprising कि यहीँ अलि टाइमदेखि बसिरहेको they don't remember needing it. They don't remember needing a fan because buildings here are not designed for cooling mostly होइन. Buildings are designed for heating because जाडोमा जाडो हुन्छ गर्मी त it's bearable. अनि अहिले चाहिँ कुलिङलाई पनि people are really buying a lot of stuff होइन अनि त्यसपछि यहाँको पुरानो मान्छेहरूसँग कुरा गर्दा चाहिँ who grew up here they find it surprising that that's a need के because यहाँ त अब 12 डिग्री टेम्परेचर भयो भने you see people sunbathing out in the parks होइन because it's sun it's nice भन्ने भइसकेको हुन्छ surprising हुन्छ like why are they having so much fun just because there's sun खालेको के हामीलाई त घाम जहिले लागिरहेको हुन्छ नि त इयर अराउन्ड जाडोमा ल डिसेम्बरमै पनि इट्स स्टिल सनी नि इट्स स्टिल नाइस नि अलिकति चिसो हुन्छ भन्ने अन्त कम्प्लिट अपोजिट हाम्रो त्यो हिसाबले चाहिँ भेरी लकी जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई
अनि मैले चाहिँ वान्ट टक अबाउट हाउ क्लाइमेट चेन्जले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ दोज थिङ्स आर स्लोली चेन्जिङ लाइक द वेदर इज चेन्जिङ अल अराउन्ड द वर्ल्ड होइन अनि आई वाज लाइक वाचिङ सम अफ दिज भिडियोज होइन अनि जहाँ चाहिँ अब ग्लोबल वार्मिङले गर्दाखेरि कति रिसोर्सेसहरू विच वर पहिले चाहिँ अब एक्सट्र्याक्टेबल जस्तै अब पोल्सहरूमा देयर लाइक सो मेनी मिनरल्स लाइक ओइल्स अनि के कुराहरू नि त जुन चाहिँ त्यति बेला पहिले ड्रिल गर्नु त्यहाँ मान्छेहरू बस्न नै गाह्रो हुन्थ्यो होइन वेराज अहिले चाहिँ स्लोली अब ग्लोबल वार्मिङले गर्दाखेरि रसियाको कति धेरै रिजन्सहरू इज लाइक बिकमिङ मोर इन्हेबिटेबल क्या फर पिपल बिकज लाइक पहिले हुन्छ नि सो रसियाको कति प्लेसेसहरू रसिया इज बिग होइन अर लाइक अदर कन्ट्रिज एज वेल लाइक जहाँ चाहिँ एक्सट्रिम जाडोहरू हुन्थ्यो नि होइन त्यो प्लेसेस आर बिकमिङ मोर इन्हेबिटेबल क्या एन्ड सो दे आर काइन्ड अफ फोर climate change because it benefits them हुन्छ नि
Yeah.
उनीहरूले now they can extract the हुन्छ नि minerals and oils and mines which they could not because of the ice and everything, but like now they can.
And the countries were like at risk, like Maldives, they're the one who are like speaking
Yeah.
up for it. Khale.
So some
Yeah,
like
that's
countries.
a challenge.
Yeah, exactly. And if you like, how do you like bring everybody on board about climate change? Where like there are some big players which would actually be benefiting, like in the short run. Bottom no.
Yeah, but that's not really a benefit ni the barco challenge they bani ab the fringe groups are a marginal part of the people, like portion of people think that it's worth it bandema. It's not really a
Yeah.
benefit. It becomes a little easier bane ab la jada hudaina bandema. That's not all of it ni ta. You also
Yeah.
have to eat, but it might be easier to plant stuff further up north, but then what happens towards the equator banne kura pani ta hernu paryo kinan oil there's so much that depends on that part of the world. अब यहाँ पनि अहिले most of the agricultural produce we get, it's Spain, it's Italy, that it comes from Europe भित्रबाट आउने कुराहरू हैन. What will happen to those regions and what will happen to people there भनेर पनि हेर्नु पर्यो. So it's more of it's funny that it's become a political issue. It seems almost stupid at times that it's such a big political issue हैन. It should just be like, okay, this is it, how do we deal with it भन्दा पनि.
Yeah, तर त्यो how do you bring all the world leaders together when clearly everybody at the moment is just like trying to opt for that अब super power खाले world super power हुनु खोजिरहेको हो नि हैन. There's Russia, there's like all of these like countries हैन. And like how do you get all of them together and like हुन्छ नि ल मेरो personal benefits छोडेर like we're gonna do this भनेर how do you get everybody to like
this isn't supposed to be like the issue in the first place.
It isn't, but like the world does not like function like that neither.
It's sad. Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna happen. It's mostly countries do a lot of things as governments just to make sure that people are not pissed at them in a way. It's not acceptable. Bandra consensus भयो भने चाहिँ they have no choice. At least signaling purposes like they have to start taking some action, but that's where it is. Just like someone I say, if everybody believes that this is completely unacceptable, but there's debates on some things, but with some things they can't just go out and say, okay, we're going to do this situations. That sort of has to spill over to, I think, these things as well. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but like you said, it's there. It needs to be dealt with. About how far are we going to go before we realize banne matra ho.
But then like मलाई चाहिँ हुन्छ नि अब if you like clearly see how the world works, then it like basically works by like big businesses pushing for change अनि like हुन्छ नि अब political parties also have to align with the same कुराहरू. But I think like cause अब majority जस्तै अब most countries keeping the power हुन्छ नि political parties at power are these big businesses के majority countries and those big businesses जबसम्म चाहिँ त्यो big businesses don't actually not just on paper, not just on their marketing campaigns, but actually push for climate change, I don't feel like मान्छेहरूले मात्र मासमा भनेर पनि हुन्छ क्या. Because like for most people they don't feel like they have that much stake क्या, direct stake.
For like
there's some things happening. अब जस्तै अहिले investors care about ESG scores that businesses have, it stands. There's a lot to be argued about it. ESG scores पनि different providers बाट आउँछ. So basically environment, social and governance को तीनटा broad categories मा companies get scores, and these scores are also something that investors care about, So if you are compliant on these things, you get cheaper capital, and that really motivates companies to do well. So doing well को definition is not clear because यो सब कुराहरू standardized छैन, अनि usually के भइरहेको हुन्छ भने environmental social कुराहरू जज गर्न गाह्रो हुन्छ, governance को कुराहरू जज गर्न सजिलो हुन्छ. So के भइरहेको हुन्छ भने governance ले धेरै उयो गरेर आउँछ कि governance बढ्दा structured हुन्छ जस्तै. अनि के हुन जान्छ भने companies that you don't expect to see on an ESG compliant list show up, and companies that don't really have to care about it don't show up. एउटा example थियो, I think we've discussed this before, I'm not sure. Facebook ko चाहिँ the chairman and the CEO is the same person, That's a governance red flag, which takes them off these indexes जसमा चाहिँ ESG focused companies हुन पर्छ. but then because some oil company is doing some initiatives, they are on the list. Okay? And it's obvious that one of them should be there, and like Facebook should be there or not. But then if Facebook is going away for whatever reason, then some oil company shouldn't also be there. You can sort of argue that, right? So about the standardization, there's been many attempts. So EU ESG taxonomy release because of which there will be more structured frameworks, and our companies will have to report what they're doing and what they're trying to do. You know, ESG score you don't really have to do anything. If you say you're going to do something by a certain point of time, it also gives you a certain points. So standardized by say it'll be easy to compare across companies, compare across industries. About how the implementation will work out when it comes out, we're not sure about that. But then in the next few years, it will become more clear. So there's been initiatives. So basically, giving companies what they need, cheap capital does matter, right? So they can actually push companies to do better. But regulatory incentives, but then also you sort of need something that pushes them. Interest
Yeah.
to do things better.
But then the climate change also issue, like the developed countries, like you talked about, Europe is like putting out their policies to control it, but then like these kind of business, there'll always be people who are making profit out of on environmental friendly kuraharu, so that will like slowly shift to developed countries, like the dirty business will slowly shift to the poorer countries, हुन्छ नि त्यो शिफ्ट हुँदै जान्छ कि अब चाहिँ they'll stop doing the हुन्छ नि the के भन्ने unenvironment friendly कुराहरू, like the things that would फ्याक्ट्रिजहरू सबै कुराहरू they'll stop doing it in Europe, like developed countries-हरुमा चाहिँ त्यो completely बन्द गर्छ, and they'll act like they're very environmentally friendly and all of that thing.
But all they're doing is shifting it to the other
those
countries.
Factories will shift to like less developed countries where they actually need money and don't give a fuck about the environment because surviving is the main thing नि त.
Plus त्यहाँ त्यस्तो regulations छैन.
Then अब त्यहाँ पनि ल अलिकति like त्यो भएर अलिकति इन्डस्ट्रियलाइज भयो next 15-20 whatever years मा then it'll shift to a more poorer country के हुन्छ नि.
एउटा कुरा चाहिँ something that's improved and that needs to probably change चाहिँ that is a big problem. जस्तै अब बाहिर इलेक्ट्रिक कार्स आर बेटर यताउति भनेर अब अहिले ट्रान्सपोर्टको एक्सेसै नभए ठाउँहरूमा we can't force those people to go into more expensive stuff, and the access ko issue chahi cha, and you can't judge everything by the same standards. It's obviously there. But then arko gara ta ke pani ho bhane some things chahi the new things are clearly more efficient. They're better not just for the environment but for people who own these things as well. Upfront cost high bhaye pani in the long run it does make sense. In terms of operation it makes sense, हैन. जस्तै नेपालमै public transport को cases मा I think electric buses make sense because they definitely have lower operating costs, हैन. अनि energy import को कुरा छ, but upfront costs are higher because batteries are still not cheap enough. अब त्यस्तो कुराहरुमा चाहिँ you also have to look into how you encourage them to take on the upfront cost because in the long run that does make sense नि त. त्यो कुराहरुबाट चाहिँ it's easier to transform things जस्तो लाग्छ. अनि अर्को चाहिँ हामीलाई एनर्जी को हिसाबले that's key. अब नेपालमा त्यो पनि छ एउटा because we don't use we're mostly clean energy based, हैन. Apart from what we import from India, जुन चाहिँ I'm not sure what the sources of energy are, but then India has a very mixed portfolio of energy. And Nepal just purely hydro based छैन. But then things like that चाहिँ अब
Adani and Ambani, Reliance and everybody's getting into this power. Have you heard like उनीहरुको अहिलेको
it's no, I've not, but then it's huge. Of course energy demand is surging. Ambani ko I think they are one of the biggest power providers, at least in the bigger cities in India already. In a generation ma what they're doing. But distribution they are among the biggest.
The complete what you're saying, मलाई चाहिँ एउटा कुरा दिमागमा आयो, like pop that in after you're done.
Yeah, so अब energy mixहरु कहाँ के छ त्यो कसरी आइराछ चाहिँ थाहा छैन, but then why aren't we using what we have as much as we can भनेर पहिला debate हुन्थ्यो. अब अहिले it's coming down to better debate नि. I was just reading an article that induction cooking stoves are selling way more in Nepal अहिले, हैन. Electric cars are selling way more than before.
Yeah.
So
electric cars are sold out. Electric cars are like full booked for like
Jan Feb
मा मात्र पाउने गरी के आउनु भन्दा अगाडि सबै booked out के त्यस्तो. They're selling like
that's a good thing, हैन. Yeah, so अब it'll slowly make sense because when people have so many cars, they'll need to have a charging infrastructure and all that. So
Yeah.
things will get better.
अहिले नै
Definitely.
भइसक्यो थाहा
It
छ
depends.
अहिले नै there's like a decent charging infrastructure भनौँ न like most major तिनीहरूले चाहिँ अब highwaysहरूमा every like 200
outside
kilometers or so
Kathmandu.
they're like building decent त नभने त्यस छ
Oh.
भन्ने चाहिँ
Initiate भयो
छ
जे होस्.
इनिसिएटिभ चाहिँ लिइरहेछ
Yeah.
And charging is getting much faster as well. And
Yeah.
अब जस्तै यहाँ we were discussing अहिले चाहिँ अब युरोपमा इलेक्ट्रिक कार adoption has been pretty good होइन. So अहिले कति कन्भिनियन्ट भइसक्यो भने one car's range is very high. अर्को charging speeds have gone through the roof. So basically there's apps where you say okay मलाई Osloबाट Munich जान छ भनेर you put your origin and your destination and what car you exactly have. And त्यसपछि it will map out a chart including okay you can take breaks यो spotsमा and यति minutes को charging breaks and all that and then it becomes
Oh.
convenient that people no longer have to think about
अनि
it.
Okay.
मैले चिना मान्छेहरू before
isn't Norway the highest like Tesla भएको country
यहाँ त electric cars are I don't think they're selling too many petrol cars new petrol cars anymore because electric cars को the government also makes it easy अनि अर्को चाहिँ यहाँ cities-हरुमा चाहिँ tolls are insanely expensive अनि त्यसपछि
so if you have like
the fact that you don't have to pay as
electric car भयो भने चाहिँ there's like एकदमै कम ट्याक्स अनि एकदम त्यो like त्यो मेन्टेनेन्स कस्ट एन्ड एभ्री मेन्टेनेन्स कस्ट भन्दा नि तपाईँको त्यो गभर्मेन्टलाई तिर्नुपर्ने पैसा चाहिँ एकदमै कम होइन
Hey, okay.
and you don't have to pay VAT अझै पनि I think they're going to bring back the VAT but then अहिलेसम्म you don't have to pay VAT and at some point charging was free parking was free अहिले त बन्द भइसक्यो because there's
everybody's
give all that
Yeah.
अनि पहिला चाहिँ I think you could drive on the bus lane because buses को लागि dedicated lanes हुन्छ buses र taxis लाई मात्रै पाउने गरी so if you have an electric car you could go on those lanes which means in
No
all
wonder it's like the
honesty it was
most.
definitely a better thing to do.
yeah exactly like, that's like the kind of steps that a government should take to like you know
Encourage.
encourage people to like हुन्छ नि get into electric
Yeah. तर यहाँ पनि अलिअलि त छ नि त छ लाइक त्यो के भन्छ ब्याङ्क लोन्स
yeah tax अलिकति कम छ वर भइरहेको छ so initiative लिइरहेको थियो but they did take a step back in the last financial year भनौँ न with the last budget but then yeah now it's looking good
हाम्रो चाहिँ अब because people are so excited about new things it didn't take a big impact के जस्तै अब if it that was by virtue of how people in Nepal are so taxes बढे एक वर्ष केही भएन but then once the taxes came down again people went back and bought them होइन but then if it was a different sort of an economy or हाम्रो मान्छेहरूको बिहेभियर अलिकति हुन्छ नि less risky behavior भएको भए त once the government bumped up the taxes they would have been like fuck this we're not gonna take a risk, we're just gonna buy regular cars. If buying behavior had shifted on a permanent basis, that would have been disastrous. Thankfully, like the excitement saved the whole thing and it went back to normal. So I don't think about the एक वर्ष slow down भयो, but the long term impact चाहिँ भएन जस्तो लाग्छ considering how fast things are growing.
नेपालीहरु they forget man they even forget like the last year the tax भनेर याद पनि छैन होला
definitely yes त्यो त
बिर्सि पनि सक्यो के अनि another thing मलाई
that's a good thing.
मलाई त अहिले चाहिँ हैन आजकल एउटा कुरा चाहिँ लाइक अबिन लाइक हुन्छ नि मलाई एकदम अचम्म लागिरहेको हाउ लाइक इन्डिया इज प्राइभेटाइजिङ मोस्ट अफ इट्स इन्डस्ट्रिजहरू के फ्रम रेलवेजहरूदेखि लिएर अब एयर इन्डिया अब सोल्ड ब्याक टु टाटा होइन अनि अडानी ग्रुप इज लाइक बाइङ अप एयरपोर्ट्सहरू के या सो लाइक एयरपोर्ट्सहरू पनि प्राइभेटाइज गरिरहेको छ क्या अनि लाइक मलाई त्यो देखेर चाहिँ इट्स लाइक जस्ट लाइक where is it going भइरहेको छ क्या like India ma agenda you can literally see India being run by like हुन्छ नि 4-5 like एकदम big business houses के like Reliance Adani अनि यिनीहरूले नै literally के like the things that like basic कुराहरू जुन चाहिँ मान्छेहरूले एकदम चलाउँछ हैन power transport network हुन्छ नि like everything is being transport like airplanes airports itself are being privatized के पोर्ट्सहरू एभ्रिथिङ के अनि त्यो चाहिँ लाइक वेयर रोड्सहरू त पहिले नै थियो होइन इन्डियामा त देयर सो मेनी प्राइभेट रोड्सहरू के टोल तिर्दै चलाउनु पर्ने लाइक इज इट अ ट्रेन्ड or
I think there's a lot of good that the model brings होइन अब अहिले इन्डियाको केसमा चाहिँ I have my reservations of because of how it happened more than the fact that it just happened तर प्राइभेटाइजेसनको वेभ चाहिँ अब it was a thing it happened in several countries because अब एयर इन्डियाकै केसमा it was a very successful airline at a certain point of time होइन तर त्यो ब्युरोक्रेटिक ओभरलोड त्यो ल्याक अफ सिरियसनेसले गर्दा they basically ran it to the ground अनि नेपालमा पनि नेपाल एयरलाइन्सको once the new management came in अहिले अलिकति स्पिड अप
अलि राम्रो
but then this is a famous example that people give that Thai Airways and Nepal Airlines it started the same year they started होइन अनि त्यसपछि the growth trajectory has been so much more different अनि त्यसपछि
Thai Airlines
it's like
I think they went bankrupt होइन this year
What? Oh,
yeah they went
I didn't know
bankrupt.
that.
Thai Airlines they've been having their issues as
Yeah.
well. They were already under bankruptcy proceedings, but then not in the sense of like the airline itself, but then the industry they were in. The recent management ko flaw on the. But then the airline grew to a certain extent. It's a reputed airline.
Yeah, it is.
अब अहिले Thai Airlines monetize गर्न पर्यो ल okay fine it's not operating the current way भनेर if they go on to sell the airline it's going to return great value to whoever owns the airline at this point. Nepal Airlines is not in that shape होइन basically aircrafts are assets जहाँ चाहिँ एयरपोर्ट्सहरूमा slots that's an asset they're still blacklisted in so many places and all that होइन so the management burden हटाउनलाई चाहिँ in a way it really works. अर्को यो रोड्सहरू यताउतिको केसेसमा पनि द बिगेस्ट एडभान्टेज कम्स फ्रम एफिसियन्सी होइन जस्तै देयर इज ओन्ली सो मच क्यापिटल द गभर्मेन्ट हेज होइन अनि इफ यु स्पेन्डिङ अ लट अफ मनी यु अल्सो रिस्क अदर इकोनोमिक प्रब्लम्स यु गट टु प्रायोरिटाइज यर एक्सपेन्सेस अनि इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर इन्भेस्टमेन्ट चाहिँ त्यो कारणले स्लो डाउन हुन्छ अब जस्तै नेपालमै पनि देयर इज ओन्ली सो मेनी रोड्स द्याट द गभर्मेन्ट इन कन्स्ट्रक्ट इन अ इयर तर त्यही कुरा इफ यु क्यान सोर्ट अफ डिसेन्ट्रलाइज इट इफ प्राइभेट कम्पनीज सी अ point of making some money out of it, you can sort of execute a lot more at the same time. India may be certain expressways that was probably the gem of the model ki there problem bhayira puran road maintenance mein problems bhayira for them to go out and build new roads it was a problem but then when they sort of pushed it out chito pani banyo and it's usually under a build operate and transfer model so they build it they operate it they own that for a certain period of time they operate it they make some money out of it and after a certain number of years the ownership goes back to the government. It's sort of a sensible model.
That's kind of the same model that we have at the hydropower mine 20 years you have to hand it over to the government.
I think foreign investors को केसेसमा त्यो मोडल केही केसेसहरुमा युज गराछ बट देन अहिले वेभमा भइरहेको प्राइभेट हाइड्रो पावरहरुको त्यो कन्डिसन इट्स आई डोन्ट थिंक इट्स स्ट्रिक्टली देयर आई एम नट श्योर तर कुनै हाइड्रो पावर प्रोजेक्ट्सहरु चाहिँ त्यो मोडलबाट पनि भइरहेछ सो इट एक्चुअली वर्क्स आउट बिकज इट्स अ बिग इन्भेस्टमेन्ट एन्ड त्यो डिसेन्ट्रलाइज गर्नलाई इट रियली हेल्प्स तर त्यसलाई फेरि चाहिने भनेको चाहिँ कन्ट्र्याक्ट्स हेभ टु बी अवार्डेड फेयरली इट्स सपोज टु बी समथिङ द्याट्स प्रफिटेबल फर द बिजनेसेस त्यो पनि म्याच हुनुपर्छ. So a lot of things have to come together. It shouldn't just be like okay falana industry ko कि त falana यिनीहरुको यदि property छ यसलाई हामीले यसरी मतलब will the actual business run, will it actually be profitable and त्यसपछि त्यसको भ्यालु के छ त्यो हेरेर if you go with it I think it's a good idea. अब इन्डियामा चाहिँ अहिले it's mostly अब मैले पढिरहेको हिसाबले दुईटा पर्सपेक्टिभबाट हेरेर so there's this perspective that okay it brings efficiency so what's the big deal भन्ने एउटा आर्गुमेन्ट पनि छ तर इन्डियाको स्पेसिफिक केसमा चाहिँ बिकज अफ हाउ मच द गभर्मेन्ट्स बिन स्ट्रगलिङ टु गेट द इकोनोमी गोइङ इज दिस अ वे टु सर्ट अफ ड्याम्पन द इफेक्ट द्याट देव ब्रट अन बिकज जुन खालको ग्रोथ प्रमिस भएको थियो when they came into power about 7 years ago in 2014 where is that where's that growth where's the investment that was promised भन्ने क्वेसन्सहरु छ नि त so maybe this is a way for them to get rid of that criticism somehow भनेर आर्गुमेन्ट चाहिँ छ बट अन इट्स ओन आइडिया इट्सेल्फ चाहिँ नराम्रो होइन जस्तै नेपालमा आई डोन्ट सी वाइ लाइक पेट्रोलियम इन्डस्ट्री वर्ल्ड वाइड इज एक्सट्रिमली सक्सेसफुल त्यो पनि विथ सो मच अफ डाउन साइड नेपालमा द इज वान कम्पनी द्याट डजन्ट कम्पिट ओन बाई द गभर्मेन्ट एन्ड स्टिल manages to post losses. It's impossible okay? Like there's no reason why NOC should be running at a loss year after year but it's because there's rampant mismanagement होइन अनि अब त्यो नाकाबन्दीको बेला अलिकति प्राइभेट कम्पनीजहरुले पनि इम्पोर्ट गर्न दिने भनेर यताउति हल्लाखल्ला भयो द्याट जस्ट वेन्ट अवे होइन if that had happened maybe they would have been pressured to sort of be more competitive with whatever they do but then it's sort of it's in a way it's the public being extorted for that होइन अब अरू कम्पनीजहरु पनि छैन अरू अप्सन्स पनि छैन so I don't know where that's going
but
we also have a lot of examples that sort of need to be that might benefit from the same movement.
But yeah, okay. So learning from Unsani, where you are at like Norway, that's like most of the basic services are like basically government owned, kind of like.
Ownership is different. There's coverage, but ownership is not necessarily clear. Education sector, yes, unless you want to send them to an international school or private school as such. The baseline is good. It's not that there are no choices, but the baseline is good. Clinics are there's private clinics as well, but the main hospital system is mostly state operated, and it's sort of independent, and the costs are covered by the government.
So let's just say like
that's
so places like that, that's our basic the health, education, transport. You have those services that like once you're a tax-paying citizen, you do get access to those things. I know, but then like, what do you think about privatization, where like these basic goods are like health, education, transport, network, and all of these are privately owned? Like our short term you get that facilities or ramro paउँछ सबै कुरा हैन, but in the long run, how do you see like our basic general public coping with this? Do you think it's gonna be like long term only the big, like it's gonna create more income inequality in the society, or just like what do you feel about मलाई चाहिँ? Because I have a problem with private businesses owning like necessary goods के. मलाई चाहिँ like hospitals and education चाहिँ like it's a scam नै लाग्छ के private हरू चाहिँ. Like it shouldn't be this expensive के. It should not be this expensive, because
no, it shouldn't.
मलाई चाहिँ किन why I speak so एकदमै about this is because मेरो चाहिँ अब past few months मा I lost both my grandparents to COVID हैन. अनि दुवैजनालाई अब मेरो ग्रान्डड्याडलाई चाहिँ नर्वेकमा आइसियुमा राखेको थियो for around 15 to 20 days जस्तो, अनि ग्रान्ड ममलाई पनि मेडिसिटीमा राखेको थियो for 10 days हैन. And the combined bill गऱ्यो भने you could like easily buy a SUV के with that price नेपालमा. So
I've been having this conversation.
I just can't wrap my head around it के. Why के? अनि that is like we're fortunate enough, we're like privileged enough, and like we had the kind of भनौँ न अब जसरी भए पनि we could manage to pay that much हैन. But what about the people who can't? Like हुन्छ नि, मलाई चाहिँ त्यो क्वेसन चाहिँ कस्तो लागिरहेको के. अनि मलाई चाहिँ सबभन्दा सकिङ कुरा चाहिँ this is like Norvik this was during second mirror when my granddad was admitted in the ICU. When you heard news about like there's very garo to get beds and all of that, Norvik ICU were empty ke.
Yeah.
Norvik ICU were empty because like it's like too expensive to get there khale ke.
Okay.
Like there were still beds there. Like government hostels they were full, but then these private hostels they were I don't know if they were charging higher or something like that.
They were still not catering to the demand.
ठाउँ थियो के bro, ठाउँ थियो के. Like there weren't like empty beds. Like there were empty beds like बाकी थियो के.
Oh, okay.
बुझ्यो? Like during the second wave पनि.
About ownership itself, I don't think this is such a big issue. The point is, the lowest common denominator that needs to go up a lot. It's not that.
What's the lowest common denominator?
The fact that Norvik exists or Medicity exists in the shape that it does is a problem. But then reasonable health services are accessible fashion available हुन पर्यो हैन. अब insurance का हिसाबले पनि you can look at that नि त. How do you pay people? How do you make it safer for people to take on these risks? It needs to be accounted for somehow. Okay, मान्छेलाई personally insurance acquire गर्न encourage गर्ने हो कि companiesहरूलाई employeesलाई insurance दिनलाई encourage गर्ने हो कि, because it's not even that expensive at a company level to sort of insure your employees against these costs to a certain extent.
Because like
but then basically it's an accessible range of services. So त्यो चाहिँ insane हुन भएन. जस्तै अब काठमाडौँको schooling costs को I've been talking to friends about it. It's insane because for an example, there's different ranges of schools, but then if you look at sort of the average good schools, sort of the not top of the line super expensive international schools, if you go a tier below that, which are decent schools, you pay about 10 to 15,000 a month at least, and if you go into more expensive schools, it goes above like 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 and so on. Ani Kathmanduमा, if you look at employees who are working day jobs, average mid-range employees at banks and all that, they make 35 to 40,000. If both of you are working, which you should be, it should be around 70, 80,000 a month. Now you've got 2 kids, you're already spending more than half your salary on just paying their school fees. And on top of that, you've got to pay rent, you've got to survive, and all of a sudden, if anybody gets sick, you need to have something on the side to cover those costs as well. And that's where it gets scary. So at least the affordable schools हुनु पर्यो. जस्तै म 15,000 खर्च गर्दिनँ, 4,000 खर्च गर्छु, 2,000 खर्च गर्छु भने पनि डिसेन्ट स्कुल्स भेटिनु पर्यो. अब त्यसलाई चाहिँ त्यसमा चाहिँ definitely there's a lot of initiative needed. अब where do we start is a different issue altogether. And there's probably different ways to tackle this, हैन. अब government funded education के मोडलमा पनि there's various debates, because even in the American setting it doesn't work as well. There are parts of the country where government funded schools are doing well, but then there are also parts of the country that the quality is really bad. In the US maybe there's this debate about why you should continue funding public schools because they don't perform. And personally I believe that they should be funding them more, and they should be making it more attractive for people to become teachers and go into these schools and all that. But that's where we have a problem. About hospitals के case में we were having this debate about Nepal के case में जनकपुर hospital जिल्ला अस्पतालको बाहिर चाहिँ pharmacies टन्न छ अरे, अनि त्यसपछि सब डक्टर्सहरू जो हस्पिटलमा काम गर्छन् they also have some other business going on, and that's where they're diverting stuff, diverting patients to, diverting revenue to. यस्तो कुराहरू त कन्ट्रोल गर्न सजिलो छ नि त. अब स्टुडेन्ट्सहरूलाई स्कलरसिपमा पढाइरहेछ, you already have the infrastructure. अब अलिकति त्यो लोएस्ट कमन डिनोमिनेटरलाई लिफ्ट गरेर people can afford basic services with whatever they have भन्ने मात्रै भयो भने, beyond that अब expensive hospitals, first of all, if the basic services are good, the market for them will slowly shrink, हैन. Some of them will stay, they'll still have to be competitive, but then if somebody really wants to pay a fortune to have extremely nice services, so be it. But then
exactly it's the competitive market ma ta
because
the customers are supposed to be like, you know, they should have more options khaleको नि त हैन. Monopoly ma po
isn't
exactly त्यही त monopoly मा पो like okay there's the only एउटा मात्रै छ, so जति महँगो भए पनि उहीबाट किन्नुपर्छ खाली. But then like if it's a free market, यदि धेरै competition छ भने त the customers are supposed to get benefited होइन र. like
त्यसमा चाहिँ the problem is the fact that you're assuming that there's free competition. Maybe there's some problem there, हैन, because जस्तै ट्रान्सपोर्टेसनमा फ्री कम्पिटिसन छ, but it's largely syndicated. हस्पिटल्सको केसमा पनि इट्स पोसिबल, हैन. DFID को एउटा रिपोर्ट थियो in 2016 where they sort of pinned down a bulk of Nepal's economy to some 15-16 families outright. So that's sort of how concentrated everything is. अनि it's त्यो एन्टी कम्पिटिटिभ प्र्याक्टिसेसको केसेसमा हाम्रो ओभरअल इभ्यालुएसन पनि एकदम विक छ जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई चाहिँ. जस्तै यहाँ चाहिँ अहिले मैले रिसेन्टली नोभेमा पढिरहेको आर्टिकल्सहरू, दिस ह्यापन्स एभ्रिवेयर इन द वर्ल्ड, युएसमा पनि. इफ यु सी द्याट देयर इज एन्टी कम्पिटिटिभ प्र्याक्टिसेस गोइङ अन, इफ पिपल आर कोल्युडिङ टु हार्म द कन्ज्युमर, देयर इज सम लेजिस्लेसन अगेन्स्ट इट. त्यसलाई आउटराइटै इट्स अ कस्ट, होइन. जस्तै यहाँनिर रिसेन्टली भएको मैले रिसेन्टली पढाए हिसाबले पनि देयर आर 3 or 4 बिग ग्रोसरी स्टोर चेन्स. 2टा ग्रोसरी स्टोर चेन्सहरूले चाहिँ प्राइस कोअर्डिनेसन गरेको एभिडेन्स भेट्टायो, दे ह्याड टु पे अ ह्युज फाइन फर द्याट because then they were not competing, होइन. So anti-competitive practicesहरूलाई how do you deal with that भन्ने कुरा पनि it's important. जस्तै हस्पिटल्सहरूले इन कोअर्डिनेसन प्राइसेस रेज गरिरहेछ, प्राइसेस लो गरिरहेछ. इफ देयर सम सोर्ट अफ एक्टिभिटी लाइक द्याट, किनभने अब यो अनि यो छैन भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ हाम्रो यो रिसेन्ट यो सिक्योरिटिज फ्रडको उसमै देखाउँछ, होइन. इनसाइडर ट्रेडिङ इज इलिगल इन एभ्री कन्ट्री इन द वर्ल्ड, इभन इन्डियामा पनि. India is a much more sophisticated market, but then proximity को हिसाबले भने इन्डियाबाटै सिक्ने हो भने पनि they've done so much to make sure that these things are more or less muted, and it's not perfect, it happens. But then हाम्रोमा the people who are getting arrested for insider trading is the head of the stock अब Securities Exchange Board को मान्छेलाई समातिरहेछ कि this is a body that should make sure सो अब ब्याङ्क्सको कम्पनीजको बोर्डको मान्छेले आफ्नो रिलेटिभ्सहरूलाई भनेर इन्साइडर ट्रेडिङमा इङ्गेज गरेर छैन भन्ने त ठाउँै छैन कि. इफ अब त्यो गभर्मेन्ट अथोरिटिजकै मान्छेहरूलाई भेटाइरहेछ भने विदिन कम्पनीज त्यो बिहेभियर छैन भन्ने त छैन. सो त्यो कोल्युसनको इन्भाइरोमेन्टले गर्दा चाहिँ इट्स नट रियली अ फ्री मार्केट फर द्याट रिजन. इट्स हाइली सिन्डिकेटेड, अनि दे आर अल्सो हाइली प्रोटेक्टेड बिकज पोलिटिकली कनेक्टेड ओनरसिप नै छ मोस्टली, होइन. whoever owns schools, hospitals, either they themselves are engaged in politics or they're connected to people in politics. So they're not really competing.
Every single big house, like business houses in Nepal, like have to have a way, like in the government के उनीहरुसँग एउटा न दुईटा लिंक त हुन्छै हुन्छ, नत्र like they wouldn't be where they are now.
Yeah, some of them have ministers, some of them have parliamentarians. It's become a common thing. I think that's something we can't fix that all of a sudden. But then, can they use that position in an unfair fashion or not? भन्ने कुरा हो नि त. As of now, they can, and it's not a problem. कसैलाई फरक परेको छैन, भइरहेको छ जस्तो situation छ. If we can at least change that and make it costly for them to do something like that, maybe that'll help to start with. अब हाम्रोमा कस्टली पनि कस्तो हुन्छ भने you get caught if you're on the wrong side of the political spectrum, होइन. एउटा पोलिटिकल पार्टीको मान्छे सँग affiliated मान्छे अर्को opposing party comes into power, then you'll get screwed for what you did. But then there's somebody that's your equivalent on their side who doesn't have to bother about anything.
For the wrong reasons.
So the purely political vendetta को लागि पनि हुनु भएन. Either do it on both sides, give everybody the power, they'll screw each other to a point where nobody's willing to do it again, होइन. त्यो पनि हुँदैन. It's so that's the protection side needs to go out. Hospitals are at least त्यो त मलाई पनि एकदम scary लागेको थियो when COVID entered, like
and
what will happen if we
they did nothing during the COVID crisis हुन्छ नि. There were so many like the articles and like social media पनि people posting about things like how expensive the hospitals are भनेर अनि they're actually charging a higher price भनेर के, for especially for COVID patients के. If you have COVID then you just have like a higher room prices पनि higher, सबै कुरा higher हुन्छ नि. is something like that के. अनि योहरू यस्तो सोसियल मिडिया भरि आउँदाखेरि पनि the government did nothing के, nothing.
No, but then त्यहाँ त के गर्ने होइन. But then as I said, like government infrastructure कतिको capable छ भन्ने कुरा मात्रै important हो नि अन्त त्यति बेला. They have good doctors, they have the resources, होइन. त्यसलाई best mobilize गर्नु पर्ने हो. I think there was some initiative in that direction, होइन. कति केसेसहरुमा त they could have covered costs at a certain section of the hospitals, होइन. Like how do you use your resources best भनेर. जस्तै I think अहिले नर्वेकै केसमा several hotels are dedicated quarantine hotels. They don't get any revenue from customers.
The government pays for it.
They get compensated by either not necessarily the government covering all of it, तर it's कस्तो हो भने the government gives you some insurance for whatever you're losing. And त्यसपछि quarantine को costs somebody covers it. Either people staying in quarantine do that, or जस्तै युनिभर्सिटिजहरुबाट आउने स्टुडेन्ट्सहरुलाई युनिभर्सिटीले कभर गर्छ and stuff like that. So there's a system, but then these hotels are essentially not getting that revenue, but they're being protected somehow, होइन. यहाँ अब प्राइभेट क्लिनिक्सहरु त धेरै छैन, but then private clinics were doing COVID tests for the public, the access को लागि, होइन. So त्यो खालको कुराहरुबाट पनि भएको रिसोर्सेसहरु कसरी युटिलाइज गर्ने अनि how do we sort of structure it. हामीसँग भएको के छ, हामीसँग के मिसिङ छ, नभएको कुरा where's the closest place we can get the things that we don't have, and how do you negotiate a deal. त्यो structurally अलिकति sort out गरे भए it could have been different. अब अहिले धन्न vaccines को situation has improved, so I think things are going to be better. So I think it didn't go as bad as I thought it would, to be very honest. I was more scared.
तर किन
but it was still pretty bad.
Like we see it on paper and it doesn't look that bad, but I've experienced it firsthand, and like it's just not showing up in numbers. It's just not being shown in the news and all of that.
Okay.
But the situation is still not the greatest.
Yeah, but people are like so forgotten.
I kind of fear like after your sabai Dashain Tihar is over, like let's say people will just like now cough their way out of it. But after Dashain Tihar is over, I feel like there's gonna be another huge spike. Just okay.
Possible, man. Like because
that
like people are like partying and
like
it's like COVID never happened.
Yeah, like
so normal. Yeah.
I seriously like to remember Unleashing the Bajra ko ekchoti gareko thiye ni, and where Sujeev Sake says that Nepal
Alzheimer's.
Yeah, Nepal suffers from mass Alzheimer's, and it's like so true. Okay? Like people just don't seem to remember like things.
Yeah, the Dashain is so normal.
Yeah. अर्को मलाई अलिकति मलाई एकदम स्केरी लागेको छ अर्को टेस्ट वर सो एक्सपेन्सिभ नि. एउटा point
not एउटा point मा अहिले पनि हैन, maybe it's a private thing or something, and maybe you can get tested for free in a government hospital or something, but if you want to get tested it's like 2k is like the standard ke अहिले.
Oh, I thought it was up to 5k.
Okay. That's still expensive because अब त्यो कोही मान्छे घरमा बिरामी भएर बसिरहेछ भने you should give them every reason to make it easy to test, होइन? जस्तै अब हामीलाई यहाँ युनिभर्सिटीमा टेस्टिङ किट्स, त्यो सेल्फ टेस्टिङ किट्स दिइरहेछ, यो दिइरहेछ. What we've been told is if you're sick, stay home and immediately get tested. And there is no reason for me to not get tested because it's free. So मलाई डाउट छ भने म गइहाल्छु because at least थाहा त हुन्छ. I'll at least let my friends and close family know that okay, मलाई यस्तो भयो. So if you've seen me in the past few days, you should also get tested भनेर. त्यसले एटलिस्ट त्यो रिपोर्टिङ पनि एक्युरेट हुन्छ. इट्स फ्रिक्सनलेस नि त. अब टेस्ट गरेकै इफ यु गोना पे अ फर्चुन, त्यसपछि त मान्छे अलिअलि रुगाखोकी लगाइरहेको छ भने किन टेस्ट गर्ने, नेपालमा खर्च हुन्छ भनेर 2-3 चोटि टेस्ट गर्नुपर्छ, एकचोटि गरेर पनि हुँदैन.
टेस्ट गर्नु 2000 is expensive, man.
And it's not even reliable. Like because I remember like people tested like twice, thrice just to be sure, okay? Because एकचोटि टेस्ट गर्दा अर्कै थियो, सेकेन्ड टाइम टेस्ट गर्दा अर्कै थियो खाली.
त्यस्तो भएको?
Yeah.
Damn.
अनि त्यसपछि if you're in quarantine, you get tested, you test positive, होइन? Negative test आउनुपर्छ नि त before you can leave. So you have to get tested. Maybe second test पनि negative आएन, then you get the third test, होइन? So बिरामी हुनलाई नै, even if you don't have symptoms, you're going to have to pay 6,000 or 7,000 to be sick. And that's already a lot of money, होइन?
Again, I'll come back to the Ogige same discussion that we were having, you know? But about like privatizing and about like government owning most of the now just basic you know. I feel like the more privatized there's like a lot of room for corruption, okay? Especially like your area यो एसिया साइडको छ नि अलिकति लेसर डेभलप्ड कन्ट्रिजहरू यहाँ चाहिँ त्यो जति चाहिँ यु गिभ मोर
प्राइभेटाइज भयो भने झन् बेसी करप्सन.
या बिकज त्यो भयो भने त देयर गोना बी कम्पनीज हु गोना फाइट फर द्याट के भन्छ त्यसलाई फाइट फर त्यो
for that spot.
Yeah, if you have to build a railway, के भन्छ त्यसलाई टेन्डर. Yeah. So like all of that को लागि गर्नुपर्छ नि त, and then you have like spaces for like मलाई टेन्डर पार्दै, so I'll give you like this much, then you have like commission basis के.
No, but that happens anyway. Like even if the government is building infrastructure, there's construction tenders going out. They don't construct. The government sanctions funds. It's basically the government the government's not the actual party who's building anything, होइन? So त्यो room त जताबाट गरे पनि हुन्छ कि. The government doesn't have a construction company as such नि त. Maybe I think it does, but then it's not a big one anyway, होइन? तर private contractorsहरूले काम गर्ने end of the day. So the only question is whether you're outsourcing only construction or are you outsourcing the entire process? Because कहाँनिर चाहिँ चेन्ज हुन्छ भने जस्तै म कन्ट्र्याक्टर मात्रै हो भने where that will differ is मेरो पर्सपेक्टिभमा चाहिँ मैले एउटा फास्ट ट्र्याक रोड बनाएर होइन, अब काठमाडौँबाट लेट्स से काठमाडौँबाट पोखराको एक्सेस सजिलो बनाउनु पर्यो, टनलिङ गरेर ब्रिज गरेर देयर इज अ प्राइभेट रोड टु बी मेड, होइन? इफ आइम अ कन्ट्र्याक्टर आई हेभ नो इन्सेन्टिभ टु फिनिस इट इन टाइम, होइन? त्यति टाइम लाग्यो पनि मलाई पैसा आइरहेको छ. अनि त्यसपछि कति कुराहरू त ढिलो हुँदै जाँदा मैले रिभिजन बुझाउँदै पैसा बढाउँदै धेरै गर्न मिल्छ. वाट इफ आई हेभ द ओनरसिप अफ द्याट प्रोजेक्ट फर 20 years? 20 वर्षमा त मैले फिर्ता गर्नै पर्छ. 20 वर्षमा मैले कन्स्ट्रक्सन त द फास्टर आई फिनिस कन्स्ट्रक्सन द बेटर इट इज, होइन? अनि त 20 years भनेको लामो टाइम हो नि त. 20 years भने 2 वर्ष भने त 2 वर्ष टिक्यो भने टिक्छ भन्ने हो. 20 वर्ष टिक्ने चिज बनाउने भने यु क्यान प्रिसाइजली बिल्ड समथिङ टु लास्ट फर 20 years नि. इट्स काइन्ड अफ हार्ड. Also 20 years is already a long time. There's a maintenance cycle that kicks in, होइन? So मलाई त 20 वर्षको मेन्टेनेन्स कस्ट पनि सकेसम्म कम बनाउनु पर्यो नि त. So मलाई के गर्नु पर्यो? 20 वर्षमा सकेसम्म धेरै वर्ष मलाई पैसा उठाउनु पर्यो, which means I need to wrap up construction as fast as possible. Because as long as I don't finish it, I'm not gonna get revenues. Second thing, I need to make sure I spend as little as possible on the road once it's built, because maintenance is again a drag on my revenue. So in a way, the ownership and transfer गरेर, the cost and transfer गरेर, there are advantages to it. Again, there's flaws to this model on अब यो कन्ट्र्याक्ट्सहरू कसरी रिवार्ड हुन्छ, होइन? Because you can structure the contract differently क्या. फेरि बिल्ड गरेपछि यो गरेपछि हाउ डज द गभर्मेन्ट टेक इट ब्याक, वाट ह्यापन्स, त्यो ड्युरेसनको लायबिलिटी कसरी, हाउ डज द्याट वर्क? सो त्यो फाइन प्रिन्टमा करप्सनको पोसिबिलिटी त छ, एन्ड द्याट क्यान बी अ प्रब्लम, होइन? जस्तै कम्पनी गोज इन्सल्भेन्ट इन 10 years, वाट ह्यापन्स भनेर यु क्यान ब्रिङ इट आउट, होइन? If the company goes bankrupt, which it's not hard to get a company to go bankrupt intentionally, के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि okay, the entire liability shifts on the government. There's no penalty, there's nothing. भन्ने खालको सिचुएसन भयो. If it's easy for them to get out of that obligation, again, that doesn't make sense, होइन? So you've got to enforce contracts which are good, which are efficient, which work. अनि त्यसपछि if you get into something like this, there are, like I said, झट्टै हेऱ्यो भने if you look at the nuances, there are ways in which it could actually improve things. अब जस्तै मेलम्ची चाहिँ if मेलम्ची was a private project and if somebody was getting paid 30 years को timeline, and त्यसपछि whatever water revenues you get in within those 30 years after including construction, that's yours. After that you hand it over भने त्यो 30 वर्ष अहिले constructionलाई 30 वर्ष लाग्न लागिसक्यो. It would not have made sense.
Like 5 years जस्तो complete भइसक्थ्यो होला, 5 to 7 years or whatever. Maybe.
Yeah, so it depends. So not necessarily the corruption हुन्छ भन्ने हैन. It's more about how you execute it. Efficiently गर्यो भने त government mechanisms बाट पनि काम भइरा हुन्छ कति ठाउँमा हैन. It's a mix of both. How well you do it? Do you do it seriously enough? Do you take care of enough things to make sure things don't go wrong हैन? So अब अहिले हामी अझै एक्सपेरिमेन्ट गर्नुपर्ने फेजमै छौँ कि अब अहिलेसम्म हामीलाई थाहा भएको we know a lot of things that don't work. So I think it's time that we stop trying the same things all over again and try seeing, okay, does this work, does that work भनेर, because we've got a big set of examples about, okay, यसरी हुँदैन रहेछ भनेर. So let's learn from that and go ahead भनेर हेऱ्यो भने पनि I think there's a lot to be learned.
Every time with Himal, it goes to this direction of conversations. We were actually planning to talk about Dashain, the festive mood ko barema, but like the conversation was good, obviously.
Yeah.
Himal,
but I think Himal and Mozalun was like it's like we end up having like the conversation about like
it's interesting also, like to like barge in and
about
stuff.
business and about like politics and about like este kuraharu nai ho kya, which actually makes sense.
Yeah,
to talk about.
Obviously it does. It's nice. But let's go to Alkati Dashain side of things.
Okay. Our
That's
structure head. Yeah.
Yes. That's a good idea because it's been a while.
It's been a while. We need to take some chill.
Alkati optimism has to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you didn't celebrate Dashain, no, this year?
Oh yes, I didn't.
Especially when you're not in the zone.
It just feels like some other day.
Right. Like मेरो नै लाइक त्यस्तो ऊ चाहिँ थिएन, दसैँ भनेर चाहिँ थिएन, बिकज अपेरेन्टली हाम्रोमा चाहिँ फ्यामिलीको सबभन्दा हेड बित्नु भयो भने चाहिँ 2 वर्ष बार्नुपर्छ अरे क्या. सो माई ग्रेट ग्रान्ड मम पास्ड अवे लास्ट इयर, सो दिस इयर पनि वी डोन्ट ह्याभ दसैँ.
Okay. I had never heard of that. 1 वर्ष त युजुअली धेरैतिर सुनेको छु. So the specific
2 वर्ष मैले पनि फर्स्ट टाइम सुने हो.
मैले नि we weren't really expecting it के, तर त्यस्तो हुँदो रहेछ.
Okay. Yeah. हाम्रो पनि यो
So like
it was all right. मेरो त धेरै वर्ष भइसक्यो दसैँ यतिकै भएको. Last year where was I? I was here last year.
तपाईँ नआउनु भएकै कति भइसक्यो यहाँ? Like it's been कति years हैन?
Been 3 more than 3 years. So yeah.
So how do you remember Dashain? How do you remember Dashain? Like, how was it?
मलाई त Dashain is basically like anything. It's about food, हैन? That's the highlight of Dashain. It's like the best time in every way because it's an adventure on its own. So yeah, that's probably what I miss the most as well. Because त्यो मलाई एउटा चाहिँ के लाग्छ भने हाम्रो फेस्टिभल्सहरु अलिकति पहिला चाहिँ you wouldn't meet family होला के हैन, फ्यामिलीसँग भेटघाट यताउति गेट टुगेदर हुँदैन नि त. द फेस्टिभल्स अनि यो फ्यामिलीमा घरमा पूजा हुने यताउति, आई थिङ्क द्याट वाज अ वे अफ कनेक्टिङ टु पिपल. अनि अहिले वी डु द्याट इदर वेज नि त. लाइक फ्यामिली द्याट यु लाइक यु सी देम एभ्री वान्स इन अ वाइल एनीवे हैन. यु डोन्ट वेट फर द नेक्स्ट फेस्टिभल
सोशल मिडिया.
सो मैले दसैँमा भेट्ने सबजना यसै पनि 2-3 महिनामा एकचोटि त भेटि नै रहन्थेँ, एकदमै नभेट्ने मान्छेहरू पनि. सो
also like
because of that no, so because of that मलाई त the highlight is food. It's the one time of the year that you're relaxing, you're not thinking about anything हैन. तर पहिला जस्तो लाइक हुन्छ नि दसैँ आयो नयाँ लुगा टाइप्स खाले नयाँ लुगा किन्ने एन्ड अल द्याट खाले छैन के. लाइक यतिकै नि लाइक
आई थिङ्क हामीलाई छैन. But bro, I went to New Road and then a couple of days back and it was chaos.
The New Road, it's also because like Pujako saman.
No, bro. People were shopping, like people were crazy shopping. Or like everywhere.
No, Dashain yeah. The Dashain is a big deal, ni. As an economy, Dashain is a big deal, ni. This India में तो दिवाली को phase, यहाँ Christmas को बेला, people buy things. It's अब जस्तै अनि यहाँ त especially this is funny. It's nice and funny. December में whatever paycheck you pay half the taxes, के. And it's a lot. I know they only deduct half the taxes. If you make 50,000, your tax will be around 20,000, like almost 15-20,000 the tax हुन्छ हैन. So that's a big chunk of your income that you pay in taxes. तर फेस्टिभलको ठ्याक्क त्यो मन्थमा चाहिँ they only deduct half of it के. So you suddenly have a lot of extra money. And the point of that extra money is that people have more money to spend during the festivals हैन. And everybody plans their supply chain accordingly.
त्यो के भन्छ holiday bonus पनि हुन्छ from the company side.
Holiday bonuses such भन्दा they give you money for त्यो so त्यो fest त्यो it depends on what company you work for, what the structure is, but there is Norwayमा चाहिँ every company has to pay like your holiday bonus भनेर you've got to pay a certain percentage of your employee's salary every year. So that's basically money for you to go on vacation in a period where you're not working.
के रमाइलो this way, like half tax and अझै extra money, like surplus.
तर that comes in the summer. So त्यो extra पैसा आउने चाहिँ you get that in the summer because that's when you go on vacation. अनि त्यो festival को चाहिँ it's a separate thing.
Okay.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
हाम्रोमा पनि त्यही त हो नि, दसैँ बोनस whatever bonus is, so the festival
तर हामी
bonus.
त दसैँमै पाउँछ नि त.
दसैँमै पाउँछ. दसैँमै is the time we spend the most. And plus there like सबै यो सेल डिस्काउन्टहरु अफरहरु हुने पनि like यो दसैँ तिहारकै बेला हो. It's like the whole market is just designed for you to spend your time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Dashain is huge. अनि लुगाहरु यताउतिमा पनि the point is there's so many people and people buy like त्यो आफ्नो लागि नकिने पनि people buy it for other people के. त्यो अहिलेको स्टेटमा पनि जस्तै म नेपालमा दसैँमा छु भने I probably wouldn't buy anything for myself because I feel like I get stuff when I need stuff हैन. मलाई त्यो I don't like buying too many things except for when it's kitchen related stuff that I buy all around the year हैन. So it's preferences हैन. But then I'd like to like
खानु पर्ला जस्तो.
Soon अब आउनु भएपछि.
We can do that when I'm there.
Yeah, please invite us.
त्यो चाहिँ it's अब अनि तर त्यो if you've got distant family that you don't see that often or people you don't see on other occasions and you want to get gifts and all of that, then it's a good time okay? Because people are happy about everything and all of that. So त्यो पनि छ. And from what I know, jewelry market also really eats up during Dashain. They have wedding season and they have Dashain Tihar.
Yeah, Tihar ma I think it's a ritual to buy gold or silver ne, na?
Oh yeah.
India ma पनि पुरा त्यति बेला
अलिकति भएन किन्नै पर्छ.
त्यति बेला त adsहरु त ओफो.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
Economy like that, Dashain is super important. Like Dashain ko bela bhansar banda bhayo भने त there's a lot of people that will go belly up. नाकाबन्दीको बेला त्यही त इस्यु भएको थियो नि दसैँको बेला it's really bad के. But people have money to spend for whatever reason. मलाई अचम्म लागिरहेको थियो like with like you said हैन इलेक्ट्रिक कार्सको अहिले यस्तो भइरहेछ भनेर. The economy from what you read in the papers, the economy has been in a standstill for the last 2 years or something. And then there's not enough cars to sell. It's not something that necessarily matches up. But it's a good thing from an economic perspective on how much economic activity there is in the country. त्यही हिसाबले त राम्रो हो, but it's surprising के like कहाँबाट आइरहेछ पैसा के भइरहेछ what's driving this भनेर चाहिँ बुझ्न गाह्रो छ, but it's a good thing.
मलाई चाहिँ whenever I see the stats and whenever I see the reality हैन, I just feel like the main missing gap is the grey market that we miss in those stats के.
That's the thing.
It's a big chunk. एउटा त remittance sources-हरु पनि छ जुन it's not technically anything connected नेपालमा, but then दसैँमा त बाहिर भएको मान्छेहरूले पनि दसैँमा घरमा पैसा पठाउने भन्ने it's an important thing नि त. It's the one time even if you're relatively struggling you want your family to be comfortable हैन. बाहिरबाट मान्छेहरू आइरा हुन्छ and all that. So त्यो हिसाबले पनि it's there's a lot of money in the market during दसैँ. अहिले त it's I'm not a huge fan of the whole त्यो मलाई चाहिँ त्यो sale and all that पनि it's
scam जस्तो लाग्छ.
I never got that interested के दसैँको बेला किनभने there's some stores जहाँ कहिले पनि सेल हुँदैन भए पनि it's routine, you know what you're expecting, but then the new road market and all that like I never trust that part of your regular shopping ko okay. Just too suspicious for me. So yeah, I used to ignore all of that, but then the crowd is nice, like you see so many people right?
Yeah.
त्यो बच्चा हुँदाखेरि चङ्गाहरू उडाउँथ्यो दसैँमा.
Yeah, चङ्गा I used to really like. नउडाको धेरै भयो, but that was the highlight किनभने त्यत्रो दिन बिदा हुन्थ्यो. अनि त्यसपछि when I was growing up त्यो surprising now. So त्यो बल्खुमा I don't even know if there's anything green remaining होइन तर बल्खुमा ठ्याक्क त्यो रिङ रोडको बाहिरपट्टि चाहिँ there was this त्यो ठ्याक्क उकालो छ अनि so basically when you take the ring road बाट कृतिपुरतिर जानलाई you take a turn नि त्यो राइट साइडपट्टि the entire thing you see नि त्यहाँ एउटा पेट्रोल पम्प छ त्यो पेट्रोल पम्प भन्दा माथि टन्न घरहरू बनिसकेको छ अहिले all of that was empty land के apparently that was owned by a few brothers त्यो family property थियो रहेछ त्यो बेलामा अनि it was disputed होइन so that was on hold forever होइन अनि हामी चाहिँ त्यहाँ डाँडाको माथिपट्टि एउटा उसमा बस्थ्यो त्यो पुरा चौर थियो क्या so it was open space त्यहाँनिर अनि अहिले चाहिँ this is not even that long ago it's probably 20-25 years ago होइन अनि it was completely empty अनि त्यसपछि दसैँको हाइलाइट एनी टाइमको हाइलाइट होइन काठमाडौँमा हरियो थियो भनेपछि it's already a long time ago because it's been a long time होइन अनि that's the core of the city नि त त्यो त अब तर त्यतातिर त अझै बाँकी छ किर्तिपुरमा युनिभर्सिटीको जग्गा यताउति खाली ठाउँहरू त्यता त खाली ठाउँ छ अझै होस् टु बी अनेस्ट बट देन अनि त्यो ठ्याक्क रिङ रोड यतापट्टि it was a great place होइन त्यति फोहोर पनि थिएन के पनि थिएन अनि त्यहाँ पुरा चङ्गाबाट पनि 50-60 जना मान्छे भएर आउँथ्यो बच्चाहरू एन्ड that used to be great fun but yeah but after that अब त्यो छतबाट चङ्गाबाट आउनु चाहिँ it gets boring के afterwards if it's extremely crowded
मलाई त I
no longer
remember
as much fun
at one point त्यो बच्चाहरू छतबाट के अरे चङ्गा उडाएर लड्यो के भनेर my mom was like माथि हुँदैन टाइप्स गरेर बाटोतिर चङ्गा उडाएको चाहिँ याद छ या त्यसले गर्दा पनि
म त I grew up जनकपुरमा होइन for like a good the early years of my life अनि जनकपुरमा चाहिँ पाउँथेन क्या चङ्गा किन्नु पाउँथेन क्या
हो
या
why
चङ्गा किन्नु like it was just not there हुन्छ नि people used to make their own
culture थिएन
culture थिएन भन्नाले people used to make their own
it was not there like
बुझेन मार्केटमा
this is basically like काठमाडौँ बाहिर या 20 वर्ष अगाडि काठमाडौँ बाहिर मोमो नपाउने जस्तै हो क्या you rarely found momos outside of काठमाडौँ भन्थे क्या it was not a thing at all
मलाई चाहिँ when I like हुन्छ नि first came like यता काठमाडौँमा मलाई चाहिँ त्यो चङ्गा किन्नु पाउँछ भनेर सक भयो क्या म I didn't know that म त like I remember म बच्चामा like all day हामी दसैँमा के गर्थ्यो भन्दा बसेर होइन लाइक त्यो कुचो हुन्छ नि कुचोको डाँठले अनि त्योपछि पत्रिकाले अनि त्योपछि त्यो उसले के भातको ग्लु बनाएर हामी आफ्नै चङ्गा बनाउँथ्यौँ
damn that's some creative shit यार
आर्ट एन्ड क्राफ्टै हुन्छ जहिले like that was like literally I grew up like that के making our own kites त्यो हुन्छ नि त्यस्तो उसमा के
interesting I didn't know that आफै पनि बनाउँथ्यो नि थाहा छैन
अन्त बच्चा बेलाको एक्साइटमेन्ट पनि अर्कै हुन्छ लाइक आई रिमेम्बर नाउ दैट यु सेड आई रिमेम्बर त्यो धागो हाल्ने काम के चङ्गाको अनि त्यसपछि मलाई पहिला आउँदैन थियो आई युज्ड टु सी अन त्यसपछि एट सम पोइन्ट आई लर्नड इट रियली वेल के एट सम पोइन्ट त्यो गर्दा गर्दा आई कुड डु इट टक्क प्रिसाइजली टक्क लेन्थ यताउति मिलाएर ठ्याक्क मिलाउन आउँथ्यो द्याट वाज अ म्याटर अफ बिग प्राइड क्या लाइक त्यो घरमा यताउति अरूसँग खेल्दा पनि त्यो ठ्याक्क पर्फेक्टली बनाउन सक्छ मैले भन्ने बित्तिकै द्याट वाज अ बिग डिल के
मलाई त लाइक दाइहरूले उडाउँथ्यो नि म एकछिन समात्थेँ
वाउ
but that was so fun though
तर so recently चाहिँ I went to my friend's place के यही दसैँमा अस्ति भर्खर like a couple of weeks को अनि we had like a दसैँ पार्टी होइन अनि उसको घर चाहिँ like न्यू रोडको बिचमै छ क्या असनमा छ क्या असनको बिचमा क्या सो त्यहाँ चाहिँ like all the places all the like houses are यस्तै प्याक नि त अनि त्यहाँ चाहिँ अझै पनि there is like that last होल्ड के भनौँ न त्यो कल्चरल होल्ड भनौँ न अनि they were like 5-6 houses all like जङ्गा उडाइरहेको अनि दिनभरि एकअर्कालाई चेट गर्दै अनि you could see like हुन्छ नि एउटा ग्रुप अफ पिपल एउटा टेरेसमा अर्को ग्रुप अफ पिपल अर्को टेरेसमा अनि द्याट कम्पिटिसन वाइल्ड के अनि दुवैजनालाई चेट भन्दै फुल लाइक त्यो टिज गर्दै हुन्छ नि लाइक कति पछि फिल भएको क्या मलाई त्यो अनि आई फिल लाइक द ओल्ड लास्ट रिमेनिङ अब जस्तै पाटन भयो न्यू रोड भयो असन भयो होइन आई थिङ्क दोज आर द ओन्ली प्लेसेस किर्तिपुरहरू आई थिङ्क दोज आर द ओन्ली प्लेसेस लेफ्ट वेयर लाइक हुन्छ नि दिज कल्चर्स आर स्टिल लाइक स्ट्याक्ड के अब बानेश्वरमा त चङ्गा उडायो भने यो गर्न बी द ओन्ली वान लाइक फ्लाइङ खालि के इभन इफ देयर इज अनदर वान देयर इज गर्न बी लाइक त्यो टु फार टु त्यो चेट गर्नुलाई
त्यो त मैले नदेखेकै धेरै भइसक्यो लाइक वी टक अबाउट इट बट देन आई थिङ्क लास्ट 10 yearsमै मलाई त्यस्तो चङ्गा देखाए यताउति याद छैन बट देन म बच्चा हुँदा त आई रिमेम्बर त्यो इट वाज द हाइलाइट अफ द थिङ सबजना चङ्गा किन्न जान्थ्यो अनि त्यसपछि एभ्रीबडी युज टु टक अबाउट मैले यस्तो धागो लिएर आएँ मैले त्यस्तो धागो लिएर आएँ
त्यति बेला त धागोहरू पनि मलाई कन्टै क्या यो नाइलनको यो यस्तो रे यो उस्तो रे दे वाज युज टु बी लाइक हुन्छ नि त्यो धागो पनि नामहरू हुन्थ्यो क्या ब्रो हुन्छ नि अनि मैत्रीमा देयर वाज दिस काइट पसल कि ठ्याक्क मैत्री मन्दिरको अपोजिटमा अनि यहाँबाट हिँड्दै जान्थ्यो ओ माई
अनि मैत्रीमा त आई थिंक देयर लाइक लाइनै दुई तीनवटा स्टोर लाइक दैट युज्ड टु बी द हब वेयर यु शुड बाइ
काइट्सहरु पाउने ठाउँ थियो यार यहाँ त स्पट थियो त्यहाँ
है तर आई डोन्ट नो म्यान लाइक हामी बुढो भएको हो कि लाइक त्यो दसैँ ह्याड अ डिफ्रेन्ट भाइब क्या बच्चा हुँदाखेरि लाइक आई डोन्ट फिल द्याट यार त्यो भाइब हुन्छ नि कस्तो लाइक त्यो
एउटा कुरा त त्यो आउटडोर ऊ पनि घटाएको छ इट्स नट लाइक पिपल डोन्ट स्पेन्ड द्याट मच टाइम आउटडोर्स इभन किड्स होइन people are happy playing games on their phones.
Exactly, I think like that is a huge reason why जस्तो लाग्छ क्या because त्यति बेला पहिले we didn't have like हुन्छ नि त्यस्तो socialize all day like scroll गर्ने and like we didn't have that हुन्छ नि device on our hands all the time and जब दसैँ आउँथ्यो everybody was like we needed that हुन्छ नि to get out we needed to like हुन्छ नि
the socialize गर्ने टाइम चाहिँ दसैँ थियो
लाइक क्या थियो के अनि सबैजना कस्तो खुसी हुन्थ्यो कि भेट्न बाहिर जान हुन्छ नि लाइक त्यति बेला त चङ्गा किनेर आऊँ भन्यो भने बाहिर जान साथीहरूसँग क्या एक्साइटेड क्या अब अहिले चङ्गा किन्न जाऊँ भन्यो भने लाइक आई डोन्ट वान्ट टु लिभ होम के लाइक समबडी यहाँ ल्याएर राखिदियो भने आई विल फ्लाइ इट अदरवाइज लाइक हुन्छ नि डोन्ट वान्ट टु पुट द्याट मच एफर्ट खाले के
इभन लाइक यो स्पेसल ओकेजन मात्र नभएर डे टु डे पनि I don't see kids yelling in घरमै हुँदा पनि I stopped seeing kids yelling around and playing क्या त्यो बाटोमा कि त खाली ठाउँमा हुन्छ नि हामी पहिला क्रिकेट खेलेर हुन्थ्यो फुटबल खेलेर हुन्थ्यो हल्ला खल्ला भइरहेको हुन्थ्यो I think that also made it fun because you have those friends and त्यसपछि चङ्गा किन्ने भने पनि you've got that group of people to play with because like I remember having 2 sets of friends क्या like स्कुलमा भेट्ने साथीहरू एउटा भयो that you spend time in school with that जोसँग चाहिँ यो प्ले घरमा फुटबल खेल्ने क्रिकेट खेल्ने जे गर्ने खाली ठाउँमा यताउति होइन they've got that group of people to socialize with अनि चङ्गा किनेर लिएर आयो भने पनि ल ओके सबले चङ्गा लिएर हुन्छ everybody is excited about it अहिले त I think if people were to buy their kids ल चङ्गा लिएर आएर सब गऱ्यो भने पनि who are they going to play with who are they going to get excited with I doubt that because स्कुलबाट फिर्ता आइसकेपछि त अब एक त काठमाडौँको ट्राफिकबाट यताउति गरेर मान्छे स्कुल आउँदा 6-7 बजिसक्यो हुन्छ बेलुकाको what do they do on top of that kids still have stuff like homework and all that होइन
अनि like exactly these aren't things that you can play online नि त
exactly
चङ्गा त अनलाइन उडाउनु मिलेन अनि आई थिङ्क जस्तै लाइक वी टक्ड अबाउट नि हाउ पहिले चाहिँ अब एज किड्स वी युज टु गो आउट अफ हाउस अनि लाइक जो साथीहरू भेट्थ्यो त्यही नै साथीहरू हुन्थ्यो क्या मलाई चाहिँ अहिले कस्तो लाग्छ भने नाउ डेज लाइक people just have like kids just have school friends okay? and they come home and they talk to the same friends okay?
or they have internet friends
yeah I had not thought about it before today but yeah it does make sense I feel like that's a thing I'm curious I'll try asking people यो चोटि मैले सब चिना बच्चाहरूलाई I'm gonna ask who all they interact with I'm actually curious
but no like mere आफ्नै like cousins हरु पनि हैन like who are just like passing out भनौं न 10-11 मा भएको उनीहरूको चाहिँ like they just hang out with their school friends like they don't hang out with the people around them
spontaneously मान्छे त्यो नीड पनि छैन नि त अब पहिला घरमा के गरेर बस्ने
त्यही त so even if they do like हुन्छ नि these अब भनौं न तास खेल्ने or चङ्गा उडाउने all of that they go to एकजनाको घर and then do it it's not like toll को एकजना घर जाने हैन के they drive and they take a cab or something and go to सबजना एउटा पर्सनको house which is like 4-5 kilometers away but they don't hang out with the toll को केटाहरु चाहिँ छैन के आजकल त्यो
you have to make
I don't see that
proximity वाला friends नै छैन that's true
yeah that makes sense I had not thought about this
मेरो बहिनीको साथीहरु पनि like स्कुलको friends or friends she met on Free Fire or like PUBG or त्यस्तोहरु त्यस्तोहरु के
It's easy to get in touch with people. That's a good thing, but I'm not saying this is bad and that was good or all of that, but it's changed. It's a different.
It's just different.
It's different.
Yeah.
It's different.
Do you guys know why Dashain चङ्गा उडाउँछ? Or like why Dashain is celebrated? I looked for it अलिकति. You don't. जेके मलाई पनि थाहा थिएन खोइ दसैँमा चङ्गा उडाउने चाहिँ is because चङ्गा उडायो भने चाहिँ you're sort of like signaling to God to not make it rain रे के ब्रह्मा विष्णुलाई चाहिँ indicate गरे हो रे I read it on the internet
Okay.
इन्डियामा के छ
Because,
चङ्गाको
like-
सिचुएसन इज इट एक्सक्लुसिभ इन्डियामा चङ्गा त उडाउँछ बट इज इट द सेम टाइम लाइन और डु दे डु इट एट अ डिफ्रेन्ट टाइम पिरियड के छ डु यु गाइज नो द्याट
इन्डिया थाहा छैन
अनि मान्छेहरूले लाइक डिफ्रेन्ट सोसाइटिजहरूमा डिफ्रेन्ट लाइक कल्चर्सहरूमा डिफ्रेन्ट ओकेजन्सहरूमा उ गर्छ लाइक जस्तै थाइल्यान्डमा पनि उनीहरूले चङ्गासँग उडाउँछ बट इट्स अन डिफ्रेन्ट फेस्टिभल्स अनि मोस्टली लाइक बिहासियाको बारे पनि उडाउँदो रहेछ यार उनीहरूले मान्छेहरूले
ल्यान्टर्न्स कि चङ्गा
चङ्गा ल्यान्टर्न्स एभ्रिथिङ त्यस्तो
चङ्गा त आई डोन्ट कता कसले उडायो थाइल्यान्डमा
देयर आर सम काइट फेस्टिभल्सहरू पनि I think,
Oh. अब त्यो काइट रनिङ यस्तो यस्तो फेस्टिभल्सहरू त आई थिङ्क इट्स
ओके बिकज इन्डियाको र नेपालको चाहिँ त्यो 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 कति कुराहरूमा इट्स सो सिमिलर अनि कति कुरामा इट्स सो ड्रास्टिकली डिफ्रेन्ट होइन
या
जस्तै
आई थिङ्क द
इन्डियामा
रिजन वाइ
दसैँको-
वी सेलिब्रेट भनौँ न
दसैँ एज अ कन्सेप्ट इट डजन्ट एक्जिस्ट नि त जसरी नेपालमा जसरी छ
Yeah.
इट्स स्टिल
Yeah.
इट्स स्टिल अ बिग थिङ त्यो तिहार हाम्रोमा आउनु भयो जस्तो कि हो हामी तिहार
Yeah.
मनाउँछौँ टिका सिका लगाउँछौँ बट देन इट्स नट एज बिग एज इट्स इन त्यो सो ड्रास्टिकली
Okay.
डिफ्रेन्ट नि हो
आई थिङ्क वी
त्यो-
सेलिब्रेट इट फर डिफ्रेन्ट रिजन्स जस्तो पनि लाग्यो
अनि
अँ,
कोर रिजन त त्यही हो इट्स इट्स
core-
इट कम्स फ्रम द
कोर
रामायण and all of
मिथोलोजी
that, होइन?
Yeah,
कोर
yeah.
मिथोलोजी त सेम हो
तर आई थिङ्क इन्डियामा चाहिँ इट्स मोस्टली लाइक त्यो रामायणवाला लाइक के भन्छ रावणलाई मारेकोवाला अनि यहाँ इज त्यो महिषासुरवाला स्टोरी यु गाइज नो द फोकलोर वाइ दसैँ इज सेलिब्रेटेडवाला सो आई वाज लाइक लुकिङ टु दिस एन्ड लाइक दसैँ चाहिँ किन सेलिब्रेट बिकज लाइक आई नेभर थट अफ इट क्या लाइक दसैँ किन सेलिब्रेट गर्छ भनेर अनि आई जस्ट लाइक लुकिङ अप अनि अपेरेन्टली पहिला चाहिँ देयर इज दिस महिषासुर भन्ने के भन्ने डिमन वाट एभर हि वाज हाफ बफेलो अनि हाफ डिमन रे क्या उनीहरू चाहिँ डेन्जर तपस्या हान्दैछ होइन अनि तपस्या
अनि
हानेर
उनीहरूले चाहिँ कोहीले पनि मार्नु नसक्ने टाइप थियो होइन
ब्रह्माले चाहिँ लाइक हुन्छ नि आएर ओके म खुसी भएँ तिम्रो तपस्या गरेर लाइक वाट यु वान्ट खालि आई वान्ट बी इमोर्टल भनेर क्या उसले अनि त्यो त नट पोसिबल यु कान्ट बी इमोर्टल जन्मेपछि
अनि
मरिहाल्नु
आई विल टेल यु होइन अनि उसलाई चाहिँ त्यो करेक्ट मे इफ आम रङ है उसलाई चाहिँ होइन सो तिमीलाई न त दिनमा मार्नु मिल्छ न त रातमा
No,
मार्नु
that's not
मिल्छ न त
मन त्यही सोचिरहेको त रहेन रहेछ
न त केटाले
होइन,
मार्नु
this
मिल्छ
is-
न
this
त
is-
केटीले मार्नु मिल्छ
No, this
That
is
is
this is
different.
Hiranyakashyap. This is a different story.
ओके सरी आई मेस्ड अप ल
Yeah.
कन्टिन्यू सरी इग्नोर द्याट इग्नोर मी
Yeah.
कम्प्लिटली ल
अनि महिषासुरले चाहिँ लाइक ठिक छ त्यसो भए मलाई कुनै पुरुषले मार्न नसक्ने अनि कुनै देवताले मार्न नसक्ने बनाइदिनु भनेर क्या अनि हि वाज लाइक ओके ल तथास्तु भनेर भन्दै अरे एन्ड देन लाइक द पावर गट इन टु हिम एन्ड लाइक हि गट लाइक सो वाइल्ड हुन्छ नि पुरा त्यो के भन्छ हि वाज लाइक अर्थ डिस्ट्रोय गर्यो अनि त्यसपछि हेभनमा पनि गयो बिकज लाइक गड्स कुडन्ट किल हिम एन्ड लाइक कम्पिट विथ हिम लाइक त्यहाँ पनि हि वाज लाइक यु नो लाइक आतङ्क
बन्नु
मना त्यस्तै गर्दा हिरो बन्न खोजिरहेको थियो क्या होइन अनि गड्सहरू त्यो जस्ट लाइक फेड अप हुन्छ नि लाइक अति लाइक हुन्छ नि हाउ डु वी गेट रिड अफ हिम खाले अनि ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वर तिनैजनालाई बोलायो अरे अनि लाइक देयर लाइक थिङ्किङ रे अनि ल लाइक लेट्स ब्रिङ इन अब किन पुरुष र भगवान् मिल्दैन भनेको थियो नि त सो दे ब्रट इन अ महिला अरे क्या देवी दुर्गाले आएर क्या अनि लाइक सी वाज लाइक इक्विप्ड विथ लाइक त्रिशूल अनि लाइक त्यो चक्र हुन्छ नि ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वर तिनैजनाले लाइक फुल अन पावर दियो अरे उसलाई अनि लाइक द ब्याटल बिट्विन महिषासुर एन्ड
okay so did they like create Durga
Yeah,
for like
she-
this
yeah,
specific reason
yeah.
okay
द्याट इज हाउ
kind of,
दुर्गा केम इन टु प्ले खालेको रहेछ
okay
अनि लाइक द ब्याटल बिट्विन दुर्गा एन्ड महिषासुर वेन्ट अप टु 9 days रे क्या अनि त्यो 9 daysमा चाहिँ लाइक दुर्गाको डिफ्रेन्ट अवतार्स एन्ड डिफ्रेन्ट नेम्सलाई चाहिँ वर्सिप गर्छ अरे क्या अनि 10th डेमा चाहिँ ओके लाइक 9 डेमा मार्यो अनि भिक्ट्री चाहिँ 10th डेमा हो अरे क्या
okay
लाइक टिका सिका लाउने खालेको
Dashain
दशहरा या
yes
तर आई फिल लाइक इन्डियामा चाहिँ त्यो रामायणवाला हुन्छ नि द डे वेन हि किल
रावणलाई जलाउँछ हैन
रावणलाई मारेको
दशहरामा रावणलाई जलाउँछ
बिकज लाइक इट्स सेड द्याट लाइक हुन्छ नि रामले चाहिँ दुर्गाबाट आशीर्वाद लिएर चाहिँ त्यो गर्न पोसिबल भएको अरे क्या डिगेबाट
so
सो अपेरेन्टली द टाइम लाइन इज पहिला दुर्गा अनि रामायणको वाला पछि बट लाइक हि प्लिडेड टु लाइक ह्याभ द ब्याटल अन द 10th day अफ दसैँ खाले क्या and that's when he defeated
So-
Ravan.
so what you're saying is Nepal र इन्डियामा completely different folklores
I'm assuming, I'm
Yes,
not
go
sure.
ahead.
I think both
I'm-
of these
I'm
are in
assuming.
place in both places हुन चाहिँ but then it might
Yeah.
be like yeah because त्यो
मैले,
दुर्गाको 9वटा रूप त्यो चाहिँ नेपालमा छ नै इन्डियामा पनि त्यो छ न त छ that's also there but then it's probably what you focus on खालेको
Yeah.
जस्तै
त्यो मलाई
हाम्रोमा
चाहिँ
पनि
इन्डियामा मोर
तिहारको
फोकस्ड अन रामायण वाला
no
हो कि जस्तो
अनि
लाग्यो
what about तिहार अनि दिवाली
तिहार एन्ड दिवाली चाहिँ what?
तिहार चाहिँ किन सेलिब्रेट गर्छ त डु यु नो अबाउट
I'm not entirely sure actually.
वेट तर होइन होली चाहिँ के हो त्यसो भए
होली त होलिकाको भिक्ट्री हो नि होइन
ए वेट अनि त्यो बत्तीहरू त ए तिहार इज वेन राम केम ब्याक टु ऊ अनि
Oh,
लाइक
yes, yes, yes.
अनि
Yes, so
बत्तीहरू
that's when
बालेर
त्यो दीपावली त्यसरी सुरु भयो त्यो बत्ती बालेर स्वागत गरेको and all that.
स्वागत गरेको
That-
सो इट्स
that
इन द
I
सेम
remember,
टाइमलाइन
okay.
Oh.
It's the same timeline. Actually, funnily enough, this is actually interesting trivia. So there was this random quiz. I don't remember what quiz. I know. And the question they asked. So random questions. Okay. So the question that was asked was Sri Lanka bata kun chai part ko distance kati cha bhanera sodhaeko थियो के. That was the question. The guy was answering the question. How he triangulated the answer was दसैँ र तिहारको बिचमा यति दिनको ग्याप हुन्छ भनेपछि दिस इज हाउ लङ इट शुड टेक भनेर he had come down to the answer अनि the closest answer would win अनि the guy actually won
Oh, okay.
it was
Okay,
this was
he was
like
right.
he got the question right basically it was interesting
Damn.
how you can actually use this stuff भनेर
But then that makes sense, like completely makes sense because if like Dashain, like the Dashain is the 10th day where like Ram killed Ravan and like Sri Lanka
They came back.
came back and that's like Tihar is the celebration.
Yeah.
I think त्यो भएर चाहिँ इन्डियामा चाहिँ दिवाली त्यो बेसी मनाउँछ के because that is the celebration नि त
it's possible
अनि त्यति बेला पटेका सटेका पड्काउने रमाइलो गर्ने that's actual celebration.
अनि वेट त्यो के भन्छ इन्डियामा त्यो यस्तो त्यो
रावणलाई
रावणको जलाउने वाला when is that
when is that
what is it called
I feel like that is on the 10th day क्या दशहरामा
what
मलाई चाहिँ त्यस्तै लाग्छ
I'm
I
not
think
sure
10th
actually मलाई त
10th मा जब रावणलाई मारे नि I think like that is when like रावणलाई जलाउँछ त्यही त हो दुसेरा so दशहराको 10th day मा so दशहराको 10th day मा where Ravan was defeated त्यति बेला चाहिँ जलाउँछ क्या yeah that is it
right
okay interesting
at least now we know
yeah
Yeah.
I think we knew होइन हामीलाई बच्चामा हुँदा भने थियो I think
मलाई
we
त
just
I
forgot
don't remember reading or like listening to this ever के
I read about all this अनि मैले जस्तै हामी ट्रेडिसनली हामीहरू मेरो फ्यामिली स्टिल प्र्याक्टिसेस होइन हामी चाहिँ पण्डितहरू नै हो एज अ प्रोफेसन अनि त्यसपछि मेरो फ्यामिली हेड लर्न्ड इट अल्सो होइन अनि मेरो हजुरबा मसँग बस्दा हि वाज स्टिल प्र्याक्टिसिङ सो I've actually read a lot of this stuff I've remembered a bunch of this stuff होइन तर this was still when I was a kid when my grandfather was still around and all that he used to tell me about all this तर अहिले त्यो it's compartmentalized कसैले भन्यो भने ए भनेर याद आउँछ पूजामा पनि कसैले मन्त्र पढिरहेको छ यो मन्त्र त मैले पनि याद गराएको थिएँ पहिला भनेर ठक्क याद आउँछ तर at random points I don't remember anymore
yeah
but like
But
don't
it's
you
interesting.
think this is the main kura which like people should know
exactly while
Like,
I was reading this होइन
I mean
it talked
celebrate
about
गर्छ
जमरा and
गर्छ
टीका and everything and I was like if मलाई हुन्छ नि बच्चा बेलामा यो रिजन हो अनि लाइक यसरी चाहिँ लाइक दिस इज वाइ यु सुड लाइक चङ्गा उडाउनु पर्छ और टिका लगाउनु पर्छ हुन्छ नि यस्तो यस्तो भनेको भए चाहिँ आई वुड बी मोर इन्ट्रेस्टेड और इन्थुजियास्टिक टु लाइक डु अल दिस क्या
exactly मलाई चाहिँ that is the main thing that's lacking in हाम्रो society
त्यो
क्या
स्टोरी टेलिङ भएको भए इट वुड बी सो फन होला क्या
exactly
लाइक टु लिसन टु द स्टोरी एन्ड फिल इम्पावर्ड एज अ वुमन हुन्छ नि
हाम्रो
त्यो केसेसमा त हो the way we've got female goddesses and the way women were treated back in the day त्यो mismatch त अलिकति सरप्राइजिङ छ
है
We've got such powerful
एक्ज्याक्टली
yeah like symbols पनि क्या अब जस्तै you've got a goddess of wealth you've got a goddess of power you've got a goddess of learning and all of that होइन अनि त्यसपछि डे टु डे उसमा चाहिँ who's kept from going to school the women who's kept
Exactly.
from going out and
Working,
working and all of that
Yeah.
अनि त्यसपछि who do you like subjugate in terms of power and all of that त्यो अलिकति मिसम्याचिङ नै छ है
त्यही त
त्यो चाहिँ मलाई पनि एकदम weird लाग्छ मलाई I feel like since we've got these symbols होइन जस्तै बाहिर त कति रिलिजन्सहरूमा फिमेल सिम्बल चाहिँ छैन नि त that I get होइन
एक्ज्याक्टली
जस्तै this was something completely random that we were reading right? And it's not absolutely connected to religion we were looking at popular names के त्यो डेटामा what are the top something names भनेर अनि I think this was in the UK अनि Muhammad was a popular name across many different places के अनि the reason is that you name everybody after the god होइन so त्यो religious ऊ चाहिँ जस्तै you name somebody Muhammad something अनि त्यसपछि they go with the second name but then officially Muhammad goes in as your first name होइन त्यो structure छ but त्यही ठाउँहरूमा if you look at female Muslim names you don't have a similar structure
Yeah.
because you don't have anybody to derive it from.
Yeah,
That I get.
representation.
Derive गर्ने source छैन and all of that होइन. अनि यो धेरै रिलिजनमा छ. This is just an example. I'm not trying to say okay यो रिलिजनमा यस्तो छ त्यो रिलिजनमा यस्तो छ. But then जुन कल्चरहरूमा त्यो फिमेल पावरफुल फिगरको कन्सेप्ट छैन त्यहाँनिर चाहिँ पावर स्ट्रक्चर्सहरू फरक भएको कि त सर्टन रिलिजियस प्र्याक्टिसेस भएको it's not hard to digest के. It's like okay यो रिजनले भएन होला अब चेन्ज गर्नुपर्छ भनेर. But then we have a rich history and rich literature and all of that. So why didn't we sort of pick things up from that?
Exactly. Dashainमा त झन् like moms-हरु and everyone are like झन् busy like cooking food and everything हुन्छ नि. This was one of the reason like last year कि like I remember like हुन्छ नि घरमा चाहिँ दाइहरुले चाहिँ like हुन्छ नि केटीहरु like दशैंमा चाहिँ झन् दुर्गा मातालाई पूजा गर्नुपर्ने like केटीहरु किन काम गरिरहेछ भनेर like the entire दशैंभरि like दाइहरु and dadहरु and uncleहरु were cooking and we were like just like having fun and like going out खाले के. So we did that actually. Yeah. दशैंमा चाहिँ we did that. So like यस्तो स्टोरीजहरु needs to be.
Yeah, मलाई चाहिँ के बच्चाहरुलाई हुन्छ नि I think we as a society are just told to like do things without knowing what it's for के.
Yeah.
हुन्छ नि त्यो ट्रेडिसनहरु चाहिँ गर तर लाइक डोन्ट आस्क व्हाई खाली के.
अलिकति फोकसको हिसाबले पनि के जस्तै मलाई फिल भएको है म स्कुलमा आई डिडन्ट एन्जोय सोशल स्टडिज द्याट मच के विच इज सरप्राइजिङ बिकज म स्कुल सकाएर निस्किसकेपछि द्याट वाज द स्टफ आई रेड द मोस्ट अबाउट हिस्ट्री रिलिजन ट्रेडिसन्स एन्ड अल अफ द्याट. How does that happen? How does somebody spend 10 years trying to be taught something and not enjoy it and then get out of the system and start enjoying it themselves?
I think it also goes down to the way you are taught. When teachers make a huge difference.
Exactly.
Because my social studies teacher, she was very interesting and like storytelling ramothe ani everything I know ailesama like is somehow related to what I learned in school khale ke.
I remember मेरो history र geography used to be मेरो hated subjects के. I literally used to sleep. मेरो geography मा हैन midterm मा 3 आको के. Literal 3
out of 100.
I slept.
What was the full score?
It was 50.
A 50 out of 53.
So midterms थियो हैन. It's a real story. I'm not making this up. Midterm थियो हैन. I was in the first desk because Aditya हैन like त्यसो भएर and I looked to the left, I looked to the right, there was nothing I could do हैन and I slept. First bench मा बसेर 3 घण्टा सुत्देको म हैन.
Then how did they even let you sleep?
Then I tried to submit a blank paper. They didn't accept it. And the teacher was like, you sit down, you match the following छ 5 marks को जे भयो पनि match the following भयो पनि गरेर जा भने के. So I did that and I got 3.
So like तिमीले attempt नै नगर्दिन सुतेको तिमी?
म सुतेको के.
No त्यो तिमी अति बदमास भएको
हो यार. म अलि वाइल्ड पनि थिए हैन.
You can't blame that on your teacher.
त्यसमा के छैन.
No, you can't relate that.
But I'm also saying because I had no interest in that subject at all के. तर like as that got over, geography is now like one of the favorite things. Like I love looking at maps. I love looking at where things are. I love looking at how things work at different parts of the world. Like exactly Himal ले भने जस्तो के how does that happen के.
है
त्यही त मलाई चाहिँ यस्तो थियो I was always curious. I would take interest in a lot of things but I didn't like the exams के. मलाई त एक्जाम्सलाई पढ्न यस्तो नरमाइलो लाग्थ्यो के. त्यो सोशल स्टडिजको एक्जामलाई यो डेट याद गर भनेको छ त्यो डेट याद गर भनेको छ. It got very annoying के. अनि at the point where I didn't have to study it or remember it anymore. त्यसपछि the only reason I read this stuff was because okay I'm curious and यो किन भयो भनेर. अनि त्यसपछि I read about okay यो हामीले जागिर किन भन्छ जागिर खाने कुरालाई जागिर खाने किन भन्छ भन्ने कुरा. It was fascinating to me. Okay?
Did you figure it out?
What is it?
That was interesting. There's Father Ludwig Stiller had a series of lectures on Nepali history. He was with the Jesuit Society, so he was with St. Xavier's for a while. This is long back, and he created a lecture series. And I think Record Nepal they have put it up there.
Okay.
So ऊ थियो के ग्रेन्सहरू त्यो पहिला त्यो नेपालमा सानसानो किङडम्स हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ ल्यान्ड अन इट्स ओन वाज नट भ्यालुएबल. वाट यु डिड विथ द ल्यान्ड मेड इट भ्यालुएबल होइन. अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ देयर वर 2 ways यु कुड फिड योर सेल्फ. एउटा फार्मिङ गर्न पर्यो. फार्मिङ गरेपछि ट्याक्सेस लगेर बुझाउनु पर्यो होइन. सरकारले ट्याक्सेस बुझाउँछ अनि त्यो ट्याक्सेसबाट सरकारले आफ्नो जे चलाउँछ. अब त्यो सरकारलाई पनि काम गर्ने मान्छे चाहिन्छ जसले खेती गर्न सक्दैन होइन. सो जो मान्छेले सरकारको लागि काम गरिरहेछ उनीहरूलाई चाहिँ त्यो ग्रेन्सहरू जागिर भनेर दिने गर्थ्यो अनि त्यो जागिर खाने भनेको चाहिँ काम गरेर खाने होइन कि मेरो यो मेरो जागिर हो, यो मैले पाएँ, यो मैले खाने। किनभने जागिर खाने भन्ने कन्सेप्ट इज वियर्ड नि, लाइक त्यो तलब खाने पनि आई गेट इट क्या, बट जागिर खाने भनेर काम गर्न जाने कुरालाई खाने किन भन्छ भन्ने कुरा इट्स इन्ट्रेस्टिङ होइन, इट्स कनेक्टेड समवेयर एन्ड इट्स फ्यासिनेटिङ। अब दिस वाज लाइक एट so this came out after school ke but interesting so there's so much to
that's actually
learn.
interesting.
It's very interesting.
मलाई चाहिँ लाइक अबाउट ल्याङ्ग्वेज पनि हुन्छ नि, अब सर्टन कुराहरू कस्तो इन्ट्रेस्टिङ लाग्छ क्या, हाउ लाइक ल्याङ्ग्वेज इज जस्ट टु पिपल, अब टु पिपल इन द सेन्स अ कम्युनिटी कमिङ टुगेदर एन्ड लाइक सेइङ द्याट दिस स्पेसिफिक साउन्ड मिन्स अ सर्टन थिङ भनेर क्या। अनि मलाई चाहिँ आई फिल लाइक अ लट अफ थिङ्स द्याट वी मिस त्यो अहिले आएर इज लाइक अब संस्कृतमा अर लाइक हुन्छ नि मेबी एरोबिकमा अर लाइक वाट एभर ओल्ड इङ्ग्लिसमा लेखेको कुराहरू अहिले आएर इन्टरप्रिट गर्दाखेरि इट मिन्स अ कम्प्लिटली डिफ्रेन्ट थिङ। अनि लाइक आई थिङ्क द्याट इज वेयर द like lost in translation happens, because I feel like त्यति बेला चाहिँ that specific word in Sanskrit in that society meant a completely different thing, and अहिले चाहिँ how we interpret it is a different thing.
Language त अति like the words you use is so okay, it's like so like एउटा single word ले नै it makes like कस्तो clarity दिन्छ क्या.
Yeah, but then
saying you're sad and saying you're embarrassed is like.
But then मलाई चाहिँ like the language is one thing that's like ever evolving. If like enough people हुन्छ नि say अब भनौँ न for like some pop culture
swag
भनेर like it's like cool भन्यो भने like that becomes the official word.
Yeah.
If you just put out any skirt गर्यो भने now that's an official word. Kind of.
There's a worse example for that. So a few years ago people said literally and figuratively are opposite words. They mean polar opposite.
Right.
But people use literally when they in fact mean figuratively.
Right.
So a couple of years ago, some dictionaries adapted the definition of the word literally to mean figuratively.
Oh my god.
But as of now, there is no word that actually means literally.
Oh shit.
Because it's just gone. So that's what
example.
On interpretation, I have something that I need to verify actually. So I have to check this. I'm curious. I'm not sure what it is. गीता को एउटा फेमस कुरा छ जुन हरेक मान्छेले जहाँ पनि छापिरा हुन्छ, that कृष्ण said कर्म गर फलको इच्छा नगर.
I've heard that.
That's how it's been translated. That's how we've been taught. Recently, I have been told somewhere that that's not exactly what the interpretation is. What has been said is कर्म गर फल तिम्रो अधिकारमा छैन. Now these are completely different things on how you interpret it. If you say कर्म गर फलको इच्छा नगर, it means do things, don't expect anything in return.
Right.
That's what it is. केही पनि आशा नगरिकन काम गर भनेको थियो, which doesn't really fit what I would believe in on a day-to-day basis. It's not practical जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई. तर कर्म गर फल तिम्रो अधिकारमा छैन is much more sensible in a way that you do your work and you don't demand what you want. It might not exactly be what you expect. It's not up to you to decide what you get back. Right? And that's more sensible. Okay, I might not get exactly what I want, but then that's beyond my control. Right. That's a sensible and practical message. So I don't know what it is. I want to figure this out. But then, like you said, interpretation might be different. लाखौं मान्छेले भनेछ काम मात्रै गर केही इच्छै नगर भनेर. Did we go wrong there? Okay, we'll have to see.
Damn, कति धेरै मान्छेहरुको लाइफ मोटो नै त्यही थियो होला यार.
तर मलाई चाहिँ like I think I have a problem with that. Like हुन्छ नि त्यो डाइरेक्ट ट्रान्सलेसन छैन नि त. लाइक हुन्छ नि अनि प्लस त्यति बेला त्यही सेम वर्ड्सहरु मेन्ट अ कम्प्लिटली डिफरेन्ट थिङ जस्तो लाग्छ क्या.
Yeah, no shit.
हैन अनलाइक त्यो
it is true.
अनि त्यो भएर चाहिँ मलाई कस्तो लाइक हुन्छ नि इट रियली अब इफ आई एम हुन्छ नि भेरी लाइक अप्टिमिस्ट लाइक the way I interpret,
you're saying it right.
The way I interpret like esto kuraharu also depends on like the kind of person I am. Suppose like I am a very optimist person translating the Gita, like maybe I would write it optimistically. If I am a very pessimist like alikati huncha ni manche like translating the Gita, maybe I would write it differently.
Sure.
I know. I think that's what happened with like
तर त्यो lost in translation त त्यो friction त is like can't really do anything about
it. But do you think that's what happened with like हुन्छ नि the Middle Eastern we're going a bit off track, but then like हुन्छ नि अलिकति यो terror organizations or like you know them.
Costo how?
No, that is widely accepted. And that is widely accepted, and that a lot of people have tried to debunk that as well as an idea. Ni ta त्यो destruction को idea छ नि. It's about destroying the evil within you भन्ने खालको interpretation छ. Most scholars interpret it that way. मैले थाहा पाए अनुसार, मैले सुने अनुसार हैन. But somehow त्यही कुरालाई मान्छेहरूले युज गरेछ to destroy evil that's against you भन्ने खालको हिसाबले interpret गरेर that's the message.
So उनीहरूले चाहिँ interpret गर्ने कस्तो रहेछ भने चाहिँ anybody who does not believe in Allah is evil खाले के. So destroy all of them खाले छ के.
Oopsie.
That's one interpretation that they've been using. Yeah, and that's harmful. त्यो त harmful छ नै. किनभने त्यो like I said, it's a very different meaning नि त. आफ्नो भित्रको evil लाई उ गर्नु that's a very intrinsic sort of a thing. अनि you can misinterpret a lot of these things. अब अहिले इन्डियाकै केसेसमा पनि the matter of the fact is they've been using the whole idea of politicized Hinduism to destroy long-standing beliefs, long-standing social structures जुन राम्ररी काम गरिरहेको थियो हैन. अनि that's a big problem अहिलेको सिचुएसनमा. अनि नेपालमा पनि त्यसको स्पिल ओभर हुन्छ कि भन्ने कुरा that is what scares me the most as of now. Because last 7-8 years मा the stuff that I've been reading and all of that हुन्छ नि, it's appalling, it's scary के. अनि हाम्रो पनि नहोला भन्ने छैन because at some point vote bank politics is going to be a big deal.
मलाई चाहिँ
it's already there, but then
मलाई चाहिँ I do fear एकदमै त्यो हिन्दुत्व त्यो मुभमेन्ट हुन्छ नि. And plus it's happening like right at our doorsteps के. अनि the scarier part is our southern population like feels more connected to them than us, like भनौँ न central government के. Like
that's more of a social thing. Yeah. त्यो belief र values को हिसाबले not in terms of national identity, but
national
in terms
identity
of values.
in values हुन्छ नि, जुन चाहिँ like अब तराईतिर बस्ने मान्छेहरू छ नि हैन, they like according to values they share more with like North Indian people than with like up north like hills मा बस्ने नेपाली people.
त्यो सिमिलरिटी त्यही नै छ नि. जस्तै अब माउन्टेन्स उसमै पनि the lifestyle that people have and the social structures on the northern part of Nepal, they're more similar to, you find more similarities in parts of Tibet than you do in the hills हैन. त्यो नेपालको hills को culture र त्यो tradition त it's completely detached नि त. त्यो northern part is a bigger civilization, the Tibetan side को civilization, that's a different thing. And the southern belt को त्यो North Indian त्यो civilization को त्यहाँको values and beliefs, that's also a much bigger thing. Technically भन्ने हो भने even if the नेपालको hills को population dominates central politics and agenda and all of that, that's a small fraction of the regional identity मा त हामी एकदम सानो piece of the puzzle मात्रै हो नि त. But just because that's where everything is, it's been like that, हैन.
Also the reason why I say this is because myself I'm from like Janakpur के, अनि I feel like मेरो आफ्नै like family members and like relatives हरू जनकपुरमा गयो भने they feel like इन्डियामा जे भइरहेछ that is right के. They actually,
that is the biggest problem.
They actually lean towards it के बुझेन, like like हिन्दू राज्य नै हुनुपर्छ खाली हुन्छ नि, like यहाँ they are like त्यो एन्टी मुस्लिम न्युजहरू सुन्दा then there was this cases नि अब यो कोरोनाको उहरू हुँदाखेरि they were actual like हुन्छ नि, अब I don't know if this like Indian न्युजहरूले चाहिँ एकदम उछालिरहेको थियो के, like मुस्लिम मस्क घरमा गयो यिनीहरूले त्यहाँबाट कोरोनाहरू फैल्यो and all of that, like just creating that divide. त्यति बेला चाहिँ जनकपुरमा when I was talking to मेरो relatives, they were also like like हुन्छ नि यिनीहरूले फैलाइरहेछ टाइप्स. I'm like what, like हुन्छ नि how are you even like processing that news खाले के.
Indian media चाहिँ अहिले it is I think it's beyond saving अहिले हैन. त्यो anything that I see from any mainstream Indian channel अहिले त it's pure garbage. Like they're competing with Big Boss today. That's what they're doing. That's the whole business model is competing with Big Boss and making it more interesting than Big Boss. Basically, that's one way to see it. Right? And I watch neither of those things ideally. It's just the way like के भन्नु हुँदैन के चाहिँ it's beyond do भन्ने के उनै नभइसक्यो के. You hear absolutely anything. अब अहिले alt newsहरू यताउतिले यस्तो कुराहरू डिबङ्क गर्नुपर्छ. There was this joke that Varun Grover made के, like जे पनि लेखिदिन्छ हुन्छ नि मेन स्ट्रिम मिडियाले आजकल जे पनि लेखिदिन्छ अनि त्यही कुरा जसले पनि सेयर गरिदिन्छ, सेलिब्रिटिजले पनि सेयर गरिदिन्छ अनि बिचरा अल्ट न्युजले आवा कुरा डिबङ्क गरेर बस्नुपर्छ हुन्छ नि. जस्तै अब भोलि ऱ्यान्डमली न्युज आउन सक्छ क्या युनिकर्न देख्यो हामीले भनेर हैन, अनि त्यसपछि न्युज आउँछ अनि अल्ट न्युज बिचरा खोज्न जान्छ अनि त्यसपछि भेट्ट आउँछ हुन्छ नि यो गाउँमा एउटा गधा थियो अनि त्यसपछि 4 जना हावाहरूले होलीमा रङ लगाइदिएको थियो त्यसपछि यसरी युनिकर्न भन्न थाल्यो भनेर दे एक्चुअली हेभ टु गो एन्ड डु रिसर्च टु डिबङ्क दिस बुलशिट स्टोरी बिकज द्याट्स जस्ट वेयर वी आर राइट नाउ के त्यो न्युज त फैलाइदिन्छ मान्छेले जन अलिभर एक्चुअली डिड अ थिङ अन त्यो मिसइन्फर्मेसन के यो इन्डियामा कसरी मिसइन्फर्मेसन भइरहेछ इन्डियामा मात्रै होइन इन्डिया वाज एन इक्जाम्पल किनभने त्यो इन्डियामा वाट्सएपमा मेसेजेसहरू पठाउने यता त्योवाला छ नि द्याट वाज द थिङ अनि युएसमा पनि बिकज इङ्ग्लिसमा मिडिया एक्सेस राम्रो छ बट देन इमिग्रेन्ट्सहरूको ल्याङ्ग्वेजमा छैन नि सो अपेरेन्टली देयर इज अ भियतनामिज गाई हुज रनिङ अ च्यानल अनलाइन 24 hour च्यानल सेलिङ लाइक सेइङ अल काइन्ड्स अफ बुलशिट अनि द्याट्स वाट इट इज बिकज त्यो पपुलेसनले जसले लोकल ल्याङ्ग्वेज राम्ररी सिकाएको छैन उनीहरूलाई द्याट्स देयर सोर्स अफ न्युज जे भन्दै पनि हुन्छ अनि त्यो बिलिफ ऊ पनि हाई छ बिकज उसको ल्याङ्ग्वेज बोल्छ अनि त्यही सेगमेन्टमा देयर वाज दिस गाई हु ट्राइड ओके इन्डियामा रिलेटिभ्सहरूले वाट्सएपबाट पठाएपछि जे पनि पत्याउँछ भनेर द गाई मेड अ जोक के हाउ डु यु मेक समबडी बिलिभ समथिङ भनेपछि हि वाज लाइक समोसा कनेक्टेड टु क्यान्सर क्योर और समोसा कनेक्टेड टु कोरोना और वाट एभर त्यो रातो ब्याकग्राउन्डमा यस्तो ट्याकी फन्डमा लेख्यो समोसाको फोटो राख्यो तर सोर्स हार्वर्ड 2020 भनेर सो नाउ दिस इज बिलिभेबल भनेर एज अ जोक द गाई सेयर्ड इट अन वाट्सएप अन सम ग्रुप apparently it got more popular than he thought and it got more popular for reasons that he didn't want okay? Well, people started thinking okay there's a possibility for this random words are okay? So people believe everything so yeah अहिले त हामीलाई त रेस्पोन्सिबिलिटी भइसक्यो घरको मान्छेहरूले जे के what are they receiving what are they sharing are they making any sense or not भनेर
त्यही त लाइक एक्चुअली अब ड्याडको फोनमा पुलिस गर्नुपर्ने बेला भइसक्यो पुलिस गर्नुपर्ने बेला भइसक्यो what kind of information like the getting खाले भन्दाखेरि हुन्छ नि अनि फेरि लाइक अब
जे पनि पठाइदिन्छ
तर I think like the difference there is and I think we are the population like we as a generation grew up with internet and we know like what are the kind of possibilities जे पनि कुरा हुन सक्छ खाले नि त हैन but then when there's like this new generation which hops onto the internet on like a later years of life they feel like internet मा जे पनि कुराहरु छ that's like actual source खाले के
plus the social media platforms are it's like customized in a way that they'll see what they like khali
yeah
that's another thing to it
if you watch like one hindutva leaning like huncha ni news
your feed is gonna flooded by the same
and then you will see more like the muslim hatred
and you're just gonna feel like the world is the same way
guy huncha ke
yeah that's a completely
like मैले हेर्ने न्युजमा अब I see all sorts of stuff it's mostly food videos and mostly tech stuff and all that तर news related stuff it's mostly criticism of things like I get the John Olivers and Jon Stewart kind of material when it comes to US news and Indian news I get stuff that's like this is what the mainstream media did and this is what was fucked up about it and all of that I don't get the kind of random stuff the other people are posting in general and sometimes I just like to see okay what's on the other side भनेर अहिले कस्तो भइसक्यो भने त्यो they've covered this at length if you guys have watched the newsroom the great show in fact anything Aaron Sorkin writes is a great show so the West Wing is his biggest thing अहिलेसम्म तर the newsroom is really good and newsroom चाहिँ it was written in 2012 it came out in 2012 हैन and 3 seasons छ that is basically about somebody who was running a news channel in त्यो बेलाको US so this is pre-Trump but it sort of really nicely foreshadows the Trump को बेलाको situation के अहिले अनि US मा मात्र नभएर in a lot of places this is the situation कि moderate views हरूले ठाउँ नपाइसक्यो कि the thing is extreme views हरू यति extreme भइसक्यो कि moderate views are already त्यो it's already त्यो एकदम moderate views नै extreme views लाग्न थालिसक्यो कि for example the right is so far right at this point that anybody in the middle is already far left हैन अनि it becomes that polarized के अनि it's a huge problem त्यो रिजनले गर्दा अब इन्डियामा पनि अहिले त्यही भइरहेको अब त्यो एक्सट्रिम साइड यति एक्सट्रिममा छ कि एनीबडी द्याट्स मोडरेट तिनीहरू पनि एक्सट्रिमिस्ट जस्तो लाग्न थालिसक्यो मान्छेहरूलाई होइन अनि it's weird the newsroom does a really good job of sort of talking about these things on why you should ask questions and all of that one it's a greatly written show
like coming back to दशैं वाला कुरा हैन like अहिलेको ट्रेडिसन्सहरु जुन we have नि like why do you guys think we still like practice it? Like especially going to the sacrificing wala part ke?
No, it's though I think like anything हुन्छ नि बी इट सेक्रिफाइसिङ गोटहरूदेखि लिएर हुन्छ नि जस्ट टिका लाउनेदेखि लिएर like that is the only thing that's holding us together as a society. How do you bring like 3 million people together, 30 million people together? हुन्छ नि
हैन I mean like going back to अब हुन्छ नि how it started खाली हुन्छ नि because हाम्रो अब like I'm from भक्तपुर नि त अनि भक्तपुरमा चाहिँ त्यो खमे ल्याउने भन्छ क्या. Remember we were watching the video अस्ति like त्यसमा चाहिँ they select a होइन
goat,
not goat, के अरे buffalo
buffalo.
they select एउटा अति नै प्योर लाइक हुन्छ नि स्क्रैचहरू नभएको खालेको अनि द 9th डेमा चाहिँ 9th डे भन्दा 8th डेमा चाहिँ पुरा लाइक राख्यो होइन अनि 9th डे भरि लाइक रक्सी खुवाउँछ एन्ड अल द्याट के होइन अनि लाइक अनि त्यो मन्दिरसम्म लग्छ क्या इट्स लाइक अबाउट आई थिङ्क 1 or 2 किलोमिटर्स त्यहाँदेखि ड्रङ्क गराएर अनि ल्याएर अनि त्यहाँ चाहिँ सेक्रिफाइस गर्छ क्या अनि
त्यहाँ फुल दौडाउँछ कि गर्छ हैन
डेन्जर दौडाउँछ क्या लाइक इन्टायर वे हुन्छ नि लाइक देयर आर सेट अफ पिपल हु आर लाइक अलाउड टु डु द्याट होइन 9 हो कि कतिजना पिपल लाइक सर्टेन कास्टको हु आर अलाउड टु डु द्याट अनि लाइक उनीहरूले चाहिँ पुरा लाइक कसो टिज गर्दै भन्ने कि अलिकति
टर्चर नै भनौँ म त्यसलाई चिमाट्ने हान्ने छान्ने
पुरा लाइक रातो अबिर सबीर के लगाइदिएर हुन्छ उनलाई त्यहाँदेखि दौडाएर ब्रो यु शुड चेक इट आउट
नेवारी जात्राज आर इन्सेन ब्रो लाइक
डेन्जर छ
त्यो के भन्छ पिटाको मान्छेहरू आएर हेऱ्यो भने त मर्छ होला तिनीहरू फेन्ट हुन्छ होला ब्रो
त्यहाँ यार लाइक उनीहरूलाई त अनि पुरा लिएर जान्छ होइन अनि लाइक सेक्रिफाइस गर्छ क्या अनि त्यो सेक्रिफाइस गर्न चाहिँ अरूहरूले हेर्नु हुँदैन भन्छ बट लाइक इट्स लाइक अलिकति ब्रुटल नै छ क्या एन्ड आई वाज जस्ट लाइक थिङ्किङ हुन्छ नि वाइ डु वी डु द्याट भनेर क्या इज इट लाइक रिक्रिएसन अफ वाट ह्यापन्ड इन द पास्ट खाले हो कि बिकज लाइक मैले चाहिँ कसरी कनेक्ट गरेँ भन्दाखेरि त्यो महिषासुर इज अल्सो हाफ बफेलो एन्ड हाफ डिमन नि त सो आई थिङ्क हि इज द्याट एभाटार अफ महिषासुर अनि द्याट्स वाइ दे सेक्रिफाइस इट खालेको क्या
I think it's a combination of some context and some things that just started for whatever reason and nobody decided, the people decided to not do anything about it.
त्यो पनि होला
Because
होइन मलाई चाहिँ लाइक अ लट अफ थिङ्स हुन्छ नि हामीले जुन अहिले गर्छ नि होइन त्यो चाहिँ 20% comes from religion and the rest comes from the kingdoms that we ruled on, like the kings that changed a lot of rules. जस्तो लाग्छ क्या मलाई
इन्फ्लुएन्स हुन्छ
it's also markets overall end of the day because त्यो मात्रै पनि होइन त्यो त चेन्ज भइरहेको हुन्छ होइन जस्तै देयर इज अ जोक द्याट क्रिसमस डजन्ट सेलिब्रेट जिजस इट सेलिब्रेट्स क्यापिटलिजम भनेर सो द्याट्स बेसिकली वाट इट इज होइन लट अफ थिङ्स चेन्ज नि त इभेन्चुली इट्स द्याट अब कति कुराहरू मार्केटकै हिसाबले चेन्ज भएको छ जस्तै दिस होल थिङ अबाउट नयाँ लुगा किन्ने बत्ती बाल्ने एन्ड अल अफ द्याट इट युज टु बी समथिङ एल्स इट्स समथिङ एल्स होइन सो सर्टन थिङ्सहरू चेन्ज पनि भइहाल्छ द्याट्स जस्ट हाउ वी आर होइन सो एउटा त मान्छेहरू कन्भिनियन्सको कारणले चेन्ज गर्दै जान्छ बिस्तारै बिकज सम थिङ्स आर जस्ट नट प्र्याक्टिकल एट अ सर्टन पोइन्ट सम पिपल विल स्टिक टु कन्जर्भेटिभ ट्रेडिसन्स एन्ड वाट एभर बट अलिकति त ऊ नै हो त्यो लाइक फेलियर टु से ओके दिस इज नट कन्भिनियन्ट लेट्स नट डु दिस कसैले भन्न आँट नआएर पनि हो सेन्सिटिभ इस्यु नि त कसले भन्ने
त्यो पनि हो द्याट्स भेरी ट्रु
फेरि then that comes like the communal sense
like you said that's what's holding everyone together
that is exactly what's holding everyone together how okay you bring 4 people together you're a family bloodline you know you bring about 200 other people together okay you are a clan you know how do you bring like a huge people together like religion culture and then you have to bring like the national kuraharu
because if you look at the videos you know yo khame wala ko people they're like insane amount of people क्या हुन्छ नि like literally it's scary नि यार like it's a huge buffalo हुन्छ नि it's drunk हुन्छ नि like त्यो it's so scary क्या
from a practical perspective it's
but still people are like indulging क्या people are like
because उनीहरूको आइडेन्टिटी नै त्यहीबाट आउँछ नि त
and it's a huge thing
there's like हामीले यो गर्नै पर्छ because we are नेवार खाले हुन्छ नि this is what we've always been doing this is what makes us who we are खाले के उनीहरूको आइडेन्टिटी नै त्यहीबाट डिराइभड हुन्छ नि त
यो रिलिजियस उसमा चाहिँ द पिपल्स अनविलिङनेस टु चेन्ज चाहिँ आई थिङ्क वान अफ द एक्जाम्पल्स द्याट वी क्यान लुक एट नेपालमा यो पशुपतिको पण्डितहरू चेन्ज गर्ने कुरामा भएको थियो नि बाबुराम भट्टराई प्राइम मिनिस्टर भए बेला हि ट्राई टु चेन्ज लाइक त्यो पहिला चाहिँ इन्डियाको द्रविडियन कम्युनिटीबाट यो मान्छे हुनुपर्छ भनेर देयर वाज दिस रुल अनि त्यसपछि he decided to appoint somebody from within नेपालकै कहाँबाट त्यही पहिला जो मूल पण्डितहरू थियो उनीहरूको तलको ऱ्याङ्कमा काम गरेर मान्छेहरूलाई नै अगाडि लाने भनेर he tried to do something. That didn't work. People say that was one of the reasons why, like there was a bunch of reasons that the government went down, but then they claim that this is also one of the reasons. And that is how important it was politically. So the सानो कुरा अब मैले सोच्दा अब I don't want to offend anybody, but then मैले सोच्दाखेरि त it's somebody that is there for service, जसले सर्भ गरे पनि म त खासै प्रब्लम देख्दिनँ त्यो मान्छे कहाँबाट हुनुपर्छ के हुनुपर्छ को हुनुपर्छ भन्ने कुराको रेलेभेन्स मलाई त कमै लाग्छ होइन तर त्यो भित्रकै मान्छेहरू के जो मान्छेहरू जुन कम्युनिटीबाट मान्छेहरू प्रमोट भइरहेको थियो नि उनीहरू नै पनि दे वर नट इन सपोर्ट अफ द डिसिजन रे क्या अपेरेन्टली सो त्यो रेजिस्टेन्स टु चेन्ज एकदम हाई छ नि त अब कसले भन्ने हु सेज यो जात्रा बन्द गर्ने भनेर भोलि त्यहाँको लोकल पोलिटिसियनले भन्यो भने त्यो लोकल पोलिटिसियनले इलेक्सन त्यहाँको रिलिजियस कम्युनिटीको अलिकति बुढोपाका मान्छे कहिले होइन यस्तो नगरौँ भन्यो भने उनीहरूको कुरै सुन्न छोडिदिन्छ चाहिने कुरामा पनि कुरा सुन्न छोडिदिन्छ भन्ने हुन्छ some people don't want to speak up some people just don't bother about
another thing चाहिँ यही कुरामा होइन लाइक हाम्रो लकडाउन नै भएको बेला पनि लाइक हुन्छ नि जात्राजहरू चाहिँ भइरहेको थियो क्या पाटनमा भक्तपुरमाहरू जात्राजहरू भइरहेको थियो होइन अनि they were like nobody doing anything about it because अब माथिबाट नै like हुन्छ नि like you can't do anything क्या because those are the same people who would give you votes होइन especially like भक्तपुर जस्तो concentrated नेवार एरियामा हुन्छ नि and if you like tell them like not to do it they would like directly हुन्छ नि अब नेक्स्ट इलेक्सनमा यस्तो गरेर त्यो टाइप्स हुन्छ नि त अनि सो लाइक त्यो उनीहरूले पनि लाइक त्यो कल्चरली चाहिँ त्यो स्टेप लिनै नखोज्ने क्या त्यो हार्स डिसिजन्सहरू लिनै नखोज्ने क्या
त्यो हार्स डिसिजन चाहिँ नले पनि एटलिस्ट इङ्गेज गरेर ल रिस्क हो तर विल एटलिस्ट इङ्गेज हो कि यो छ अब वाट इज द बेस्ट वे टु डु इट हाउ क्यान वी प्रिजर्भ वाट यु आर ट्राइङ टु डु एन्ड अल्सो मेक स्योर नोबडी गेट्स हार्म त्यो कन्भर्सेसन स्टार्टै गर्न गाह्रो भयो नि त त्यसपछि किनभने यस्तो पनि छ क्या त्यो कम्युनिटीकै पनि गल्ती चाहिँदैन क्या मेरो 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 ओपिनियनमा चाहिँ त्यो कम्युनिटीले त्यो मान्छेलाई नेगेटिभ लिन पनि पर्दैन प्रब्लम चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने कोही मान्छेले होइन यसलाई यस्तो गरौँ न भनेर रिजनेबली नै आयो भने पनि त्यो अपोजिसनमा भएको मान्छेहरूले त्यसलाई पोलिटिकल एजेन्डाको हिसाबले देखेर उनीहरूले त्यसलाई उचालिदिन्छ अनि इभन इफ त्यो पब्लिक अनि द पिपल वर एक्चुली किपिङ दिज ट्रेडिसन्स गोइङ उनीहरू रिसेप्टिभ भए पनि रिसेप्टिभ हुन नदिने खालको बिहेभियरले पनि प्रब्लम हुन्छ कि इट्स नट नेसेसरीली मैले भोट पाउँदिनँ होइन कि मैले भोट त नपाउला तर अर्को साइडले मलाई कम्प्लिटली केही गर्न नसक्ने नबनाइकन छोड्दैन भन्ने फियर पनि त हुन्छ नि and I think that is what scares people.
Right. Everything is so.
But like I think like generational change ma चाहिँ हुन्छ जस्तो लाग्छ यार
कस्तो के चेन्ज हुन्छ
like when that generation completely
यस्तो कुराहरू चेन्ज गर्नलाई चाहिँ त्यो जेनेरेसन नै चेन्ज हुनुपर्छ
तर फेरि मलाई चाहिँ कस्तो लाग्छ भन्दाखेरि होइन आई थिङ्क नेपालमा चाहिँ अरू कन्ट्रिजहरू भन्दाखेरि लाइक हुन्छ नि नेपालमा चाहिँ आई फिल लाइक इट्स कन बी अ ह्युज चेन्ज बिकज हुन्छ नि नेपाल इज अ कन्ट्री वेयर एज हाम्रै पेरेन्ट्सको बेलामा दे वाज नट मच फरेन इन्फ्लुएन्स हुन्छ नि उनीहरूले मोस्ट देख्ने भनेको हिन्दी मुभिजहरू हुन्थ्यो होला क्या त्यो पनि लाइक कहाँ गएर लुकेर हेर्नुपर्ने टाइप्स हुन्छ नि टिभी पनि नभएको द्याट वाज द काइन्ड अफ एरा आवर पेरेन्ट्स ग्रु अप इन हुन्छ नि अनि त्यसपछि बट देन देयर कम्स आवर जेनेरेसन who is like completely exposed to the Western
not even Hindi, English, Korean,
Western media, and like also our generation is the most who's like has relatives all over the world. Like like everybody's traveling, and my like our generation down is gonna be like completely different. Just like I think त्यो भएर पनि होला के नेपालमा we feel like there's such a generational gap. हुन्छ नि not because of the sheer amount of age, but the like the exposure globalization how our parents were so like because limited and how we are so like overly exposed to everything
that might be everywhere
I think it's a combination of that and also how fast things are moving so your other thing was they were disconnected to their age counterparts त्यही बेला नै हैन त्यसपछि उनीहरूकै एज ग्रुप र हाम्रो त्यो उनीहरूकै एज ग्रुपमा पनि नेपाल र बाहिरमा जति डिफ्रेन्स त्यो डिफ्रेन्स उनीहरूले ब्रिज गर्ने चान्सेस पाएको थिएन धेरैजनाले अनि त्यो मल्टिप्लाई भएको भए थियो सो युआर सेइङ somebody born in the 1950s in Nepal was already not on the same page as people born in the 1950s abroad and you're suddenly comparing them to kids born in 2005 and who are on par with people in 2005.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the gap त अब कत्रो हुन्छ नि त त्यो अड्याप्ट गर्ने मात्रै कुरा पनि हुँदैन नि त सो इट्स वाट यु सेड प्लस द फ्याक्ट द्याट अहिले त कुराहरू मुभ सो फास्ट मलाई डिट्याच फिल हुन्छ कति कुरामा लाइक आई हेभ नो आइडिया वाट्स गोइङ अन जस्तो फिल हुन्छ
मलाई हुन्छ
त्यही भने
लाइक हुन्छ नि सिस्टर्स वर लाइक
एभ्रिथिङ इज अब्भियस के
या डेफिनेटली
ब्रो हामीलाई नै वी डोन्ट गेट लाइक हुन्छ नि 16 year olds के ब्रो
या बुझ्दै बुझ्दैन उनीहरूले बोलेको
उनीहरूको टर्म्सहरू नै बुझ्दैन क्या अब ब्रो they have their own language bro, they speak in memes. They literally speak in memes. Like you can't even catch up with them ke like you have to be
meme like refer garera ani bhanira huncha but like you haven't seen the meme so you don't really understand
to them
it.
is like talking to somebody who's already on the huncha ni 7th season of Game of Thrones and you haven't started khali ke
yeah
like
full-on reference दिइरहन्छ मलाई त
they talk in references के wild लाग्दिने हैन
या old feel हुने यार
it's you should try talking to a 16-year-old नेपालको or
if they ever get a time off their phones that is
म त्यस्तो नभन न यार I love like हुन्छ नि हाम्रो अहिलेको generation and how they're growing up like मलाई चाहिँ हैन like that is one thing हैन so we always talk about how हामी चाहिँ एकदमै you know के भन्छ बाहिर खेल्थ्यो अनि फेस्टिभल्सहरू त्यस्तोहरू हुन्थ्यो अनि हाउ अहिलेको जेनेरेसनको वाज लाइक मोर स्टक टु द फोन एन्ड स्टफ बट देन माई 16-year-old cousin he trades के ब्रो नेपाली स्टक मार्केटमा
wait 16
yeah
is that even like legal
I don't think that's legal
but then उसको ड्याडको अकाउन्ट चलाउँछ अनि he is so smart के
हैन but definitely like technology ले उनीहरुलाई like
yeah he's exposed to all of that he's like हुन्छ नि listening to अब Warren Buffett को हरू reading त्यो smart investor के बुक्सहरू and everything हुन्छ नि he's insanely into investing and stuff and then I remember के 16 वर्ष हुँदाखेरि के गर्थ्यो बाटोमा खेलिरा हुन्थे टाइप्स के you get what I'm saying so there's like
resources पनि छ yeah
there's both sides to it के
yeah definitely
you see like yeah
oh I know how you handle that is of course very important
yeah त्यो त like जुन एज जुन जेसँग नि त्यो त हुन्छ how you take things खाली
all right
I think आज हामी danger deviate भएर पनि कस्तो
there was a fun
complete
fun just like हुन्छ नि random talks
fun informative
yeah I think हामी जहिले पनि बोल्यो भने like these are the similar topics we you know navigate around but then yeah today was fun
I thought we were gonna talk about food though
त्यो त चङ्क नै बाँकी छ क्या या हैन हाम्रो प्लान पनि त्यही थियो
we were going to talk about food
festivals and foods खालेको
that was a plan but like हामी foodबाट start गर्यो भने I'm pretty sure we would end up on the inflation about how momo started at 20 rupees and now it's 120
I swear
oh yeah 100%
food को बारेमा अब maybe we can like hope something from your upcoming
yeah I think you should invite us to your upcoming food show where we could maybe make and eat
we'll see what happens and when that
fingers
happens,
crossed
it happens, but that's still it's in the works so we'll see
yeah sure thing
आजलाई
चाहिँ त अर्को नि पडकास्ट के छ र तपाईसँग त हो
त्यही त अलरेडी 3टा भइसक्यो
and I think like हाम्रो audience they enjoy your podcast as well so why not
we've got very good responses also आउँदाखेरि
yeah he seems so disappointed के मोमोस को बारेमा कुरा गर्न नपाएर
त्यही भने
मोमोस अनि खसीको मासु गर्न कुरा गर्न नपाएर
no not exactly I was just like okay we didn't talk about anything by I don't know how you guys are going to cut this. I don't know if you're going to make it 2 different things. I don't know. I don't know what the theme of this conversation was, but whatever it is.
And एउटैमा गर्दिमला.
I think also it's been long as well. Also say I think we should keep it at this.
Food को लागि next time फेरि गरौँला नि त. ल. Yeah. So thank you guys for sticking to the end. We had a wonderful conversation with Himal Dai.
As always.
And we'll probably see him in the next episode too.
Where we would definitely talk about food. 100%.
First my food देखि सुरु गरौँ है त्यति बेला चाहिँ.
Yes.
Yeah. And like we'd like to thank our sponsor कफी एट इट फोर इट हिमाल दाइ तपाईँ आउने बेला तपाईँ लाइक टाइम्स 3 पाउनुहुन्छ सब यो कफीहरू तपाईँलाई त एउटा इन्टायर प्याकेज नै पाउँछ होला बिकज यु बिन विथ अस सो त्यति बेलाको कफी हामी कलेक्ट गरेर राखिरहेको छ सो डोन्ट वरी when you're here like you get to taste coffee at it for it.
Coffee from the top of the world.
Yep. So that is that for today's episode and we will see you guys in the next one.
Bye.